Vol 2, Chapter 1004, Heavyweight Victory. In the capital of Malestar, Pixel City, the western battlefield was a scene of devastation. A clone trooper unit had just decimated a squad of granites, leaving the ground strewn with the remnants of B-1 battle droids and the bodies of the fallen granites. The area bore witness to a failed offensive by over 40,000 troops, including a significant number of combat robots, against the clone troopers. Despite their numbers, the granites' efforts paled in comparison to the combat efficiency and lethal instinct of the clone troopers, making the B-1 battle droids appear almost clumsy by comparison. The battlefield was littered with the wreckage of B-1 battle robots, DW-1 dwarf spider combat machines, and OG-9 homing spider combat machines, all reduced to smoldering heaps of metal. The dark green uniforms of the Grand Soldiers were scattered among the droids, indicating their desperate attempts at survival before being systematically hunted down and eliminated by the clone troopers. The battle raged on, with the clone troopers operating in silent, efficient teams of 5. They expertly divided and conquered the grand positions, creating openings in their defenses and then mercilessly exploiting them. In the midst of the chaos, Luminara Unduli and her apprentice, Barriss Offee, charged forward, their lightsabers cutting through the air. They deflected a barrage of blasts from the combat robots, providing the clone troopers with opportunities to advance. Suddenly, a rocket launched from a nearby abandoned house, heading straight for Barriss. She sensed the danger too late, but just as the rocket was about to hit, it was halted mid-air by an unseen force. Turning to her master, Barriss expressed her gratitude. Luminara merely nodded, and together they stormed the house. Inside, Barriss moved with the guidance of the Force, her lightsaber melting bullets, deflecting energy beams, and cutting down adversaries. When the dust settled, she found herself standing among the corpses of several granites, the acrid smell of burnt flesh overwhelming her senses. A weak plea for mercy caught her attention. A gravely injured Grand Soldier, missing a foot and a hand, was begging for his life, insisting he had children to care for. Barriss hesitated, her lightsaber raised, but her resolve wavering at the sight of the wounded soldier's pain. From the other side of the house, Luminara called out, urging Barriss to finish the job and regroup with the rest of the troops. The Grand Soldier continued to plead, his voice filled with agony. Barriss faced a moral dilemma. The soldier's surrender and visible suffering stirred something within her. She had to make a choice, one that would test her principles and the teachings of the Jedi. Barriss Offee finally made up her mind. She squatted down beside the wounded Grand Soldier, her voice soft but firm. "I'm skilled in force healing. I'll take care of your injury." Despite his pain, the Grand Soldier's grip on his pistol did not waver. He gasped, gratitude mingling with despair in his voice. Thank you, Jedi Knight. Do you know, my 2 children, my daughters, they were all killed by your Jedi, killed." In a sudden burst of hysteria, he raised his pistol, aiming it at Barriss. But before he could pull the trigger, a sharp piece of gravel, propelled by an unseen force, flew through the air and penetrated the soldier's skull. His body froze, the pistol's trigger unpressed, as life fled from him. Barriss, shaken from the encounter, turned to see her master, Luminara Unduli, who had arrived unnoticed. Outside, the chaos of battle raged on, with clone troopers exchanging fire with combat droids. "He never relinquished his weapon, Barriss," Luminara said, her voice heavy with a mix of sorrow and resolve. Barriss looked down at the fallen Grand Soldier, his blood painting the floor, and felt a weight in her heart. "This is the reality of war, Barriss. On the battlefield, awareness is crucial. As long as they hold weapons, they are our enemies. Whether they are wounded, elderly, or..." Luminara's voice trailed off, her expression pained and complex. Helping Barriss to her feet, Luminara continued, "We must adapt to this harsh truth. Only when the war is over can we hope to heal these wounds. Until then, our duty is clear. We must eliminate the enemy." Barriss nodded, her voice lost in the turmoil of her thoughts. Luminara's words of comfort did little to ease the turmoil within. The Grand Soldier's final words and the hatred in his eyes haunted her. Despite her Jedi training, which taught respect and love for life, the reality of war had forced her into actions that contradicted those teachings. The weight of the lives she had taken weighed heavily on her soul. Barris, Luminara's voice, filled with concern, broke through her apprentice's reverie. You seem troubled. Would you prefer to escort these wounded soldiers to the rear for a rest? Shaking her head, Barris dispelled the haunting thoughts. I'm fine, Master. No problem. I can do what's necessary. Accepting her apprentice's determination, Luminara briefed her on their next mission. An armored unit of the Grand Forces was positioned nearby, posing a threat to their offensive plans. It was imperative that they neutralize this threat. Under the guidance of their masters, Barris and the clone troopers launched another assault. The battlefield was a cacophony of screams, blaster fire, and explosions. The Grand Forces, attempting a counterattack with a cumbersome tracked tank, found their outdated technology no match for the Republic's firepower. Despite its thick armor, the tank was easily penetrated by blaster fire, a testament to the desperation and resourcefulness of the Grand soldiers. As the battle raged on, Barris fought with a newfound resolve, her actions driven by a complex mix of duty, sorrow, and the harsh necessities of war. The artillery, boasting a caliber of around 150 millimeters, proved to be lethal. Even the most advanced composite and gold combat armor worn by the clone troopers couldn't withstand the ancient cannon fire. Master Luminara Unduli was well prepared for this armored onslaught, initiating preemptive strikes. Barris Offee, leading the clone troopers into battle, demonstrated her prowess by destroying several B-2 super battle droids. She then maneuvered behind a Grand tank, piercing its engine with her lightsaber. The tank's engine casing melted instantly, igniting a fire that soon rendered the vehicle inoperative. The clone troopers pressed on with their attack. Amidst the chaos, Barris felt her communicator vibrate. She signaled the clone frontline commander to maintain the offensive and stepped aside to check the device. The battlefield's interference severely disrupted the transmission, reducing the holographic projection to an unintelligible blur. From the communicator, she could barely make out intermittent fragments of a message. This is Obi-Wan Kenobi. My army is sustaining heavy losses. The Black Legion is here. We urgently request support. Barris's expression darkened as she glanced towards Luminara Unduli, who was deeply engaged in combat, seemingly unaware of the communication. The clone troopers showed no sign of receiving the message, likely due to the severe interference. A surge of frustration overwhelmed Barris, triggered by the recent encounter with a Grand soldier. In a moment of anger, she crushed the communicator, silencing it abruptly. Regret followed her rash action, and she attempted to reassemble the device, but to no avail, leaving her feelings conflicted. Luminara, sensing something amiss, approached with concern. Barris, are you injured? Holding the broken communicator, Barris hesitated before replying. My communicator. What happened to it? Luminara inquired. Barris's demeanor softened as she shook her head, dismissing the concern. It's nothing, just damaged by shrapnel. Master, is your communicator still functional? Luminara, unsuspecting of any deceit, examined her own device and responded, Mine's fine, but the Sipa, Radists have caused significant interference on the battlefield. It's as if we're operating without communicators. Let's gather our remaining strength. Victory is within our grasp. Indeed, Barris agreed, her spirits slightly lifted. Meanwhile, on the eastern front of Pixel City, Obi-Wan Kenobi faced his own challenges. The battlefield's interference had escalated to a level that nearly rendered communication impossible. Although his message had been sent, the lack of response before the abrupt disconnection puzzled him. He set aside the communicator, taking a moment to survey the dire situation. The 212th Assault Battalion was fiercely attempting to break through the encirclement, engaged in a relentless battle with the Black Legion. With Dag's soldiers and droid armies in hot pursuit, their situation seemed bleak. Obi-Wan's initial assessment was accurate. The Black Legion had not committed a large force, but their target was clear. Among them was a unique Black Legionnaire, Justin Reeves, whose presence posed a significant threat even to a Jedi Knight. Obi-Wan had previously engaged Reeves, who proved to be highly cautious, avoiding direct confrontation while effectively hindering Obi-Wan's efforts. Realizing the gravity of their predicament, Obi-Wan ceased his pursuit, opting instead to seek reinforcements. However, it was becoming increasingly apparent that help would not arrive in time. The Separatists' interference had reached such a level that it seemed they might inadvertently hinder their own forces. Yet their determination was unmistakable, signaling they were thoroughly prepared for confrontation. "If they're coming for me, then let them come," Obi-Wan Kenobi declared, his eyes narrowing with resolve. Without a moment's hesitation, he surged forward, propelled by a clear sense of purpose. He could sense Justin Reeves' presence through the Force, unmistakable and drawing closer. As Obi-Wan made his appearance, bullets flew towards him almost instantly. Each shot required him to swiftly adjust his stance, deflecting them with his lightsaber in a blur of motion. Despite the onslaught, Obi-Wan did not falter. He exposed himself to the enemy's gunfire, moving with such speed that his lightsaber seemed to leave countless afterimages in its wake. Then, in a strategic maneuver, 3 bullets were fired in a zigzag pattern, designed to block any possible escape. Yet, in that critical moment, Obi-Wan's lightsaber flew from his grasp, piercing through the wall ahead with unerring accuracy. It sliced through not 1, not 2, but 3 walls in rapid succession. Almost simultaneously, a 4th bullet found its mark, striking Obi-Wan Kenobi squarely in the chest. For the latest updates, please remember to visit the official website of this book. Volume 2, Chapter 1005, Captive, gasping for air with each breath, Obi-Wan Kenobi felt as though his chest was ablaze, the pain nearly unbearable. Yet, his instinct to survive compelled him to endure the agony. His hands were bound behind his back, and he was being dragged roughly forward. Through his blurred vision, he could make out 2 soldiers clad in black N7 combat uniforms pulling him along. Nearby, someone called out urgently, "Medics, over here! Commander Justin Reeves has sustained serious injuries and requires immediate surgery. And this Jedi Knight, he's still breathing. Let's not let him slip away too easily." Suddenly, Obi-Wan was thrown to the ground. The impact sent a wave of excruciating pain through the wound on his chest, and darkness claimed him as he lost consciousness. Time lost all meaning as Obi-Wan drifted in and out of awareness, each awakening marked by sharp, unbearable pain. He found himself on an operating table at one point, a medical robot poised to extract bullets from his chest without any sign of administering anesthesia. His scream of agony was cut short as he fainted once more. In a haze of pain and semi-consciousness, Obi-Wan experienced fleeting moments of wakefulness, each time in a different location, before pain overwhelmed him again. Eventually, Obi-Wan awoke to a sterile white environment, a medical robot standing over him with an injection gun aimed at his neck. Weakly, he attempted to use the Force to reach for a scalpel nearby, but his weakened state betrayed him. A soldier noticed his feeble attempt and responded with a brutal strike to his face with the butt of his gun, causing Obi-Wan's nose to bleed profusely. At that moment, the medical robot administered the injection, and Obi-Wan felt his physical strength ebbing away, though his mind remained alert. "The muscle relaxant has been injected. He's ready to be moved," a soldier announced. "Where are you?" "Taking me." Obi-Wan managed to whisper, his voice barely audible. Ignoring his question, the soldiers lifted him from the bed and dragged him out. They traveled a considerable distance, including a swift elevator ride that lasted about 10 minutes before reaching their destination. This new location was markedly different from the previous ones. The floor was covered with a soft red carpet, and the luxurious decor exuded a sense of solemnity and grandeur. The atmosphere was so imposing that even breathing felt like a luxury. Finally, the soldiers brought Obi-Wan into an office, showing utmost respect as they pressed a call button beside the door and waited for a green light before entering. They seated him on a stool across from a desk and then promptly exited the room, standing at attention before leaving. As Obi-Wan's gaze settled on the man behind the desk, he remained motionless. "Long time no see, Obi-Wan Kenobi," the man said. It was Tang Xiao, the governor of Dawn Planet and one of the top 10 war criminals listed by the Galactic Republic Intelligence Department, a man who would undoubtedly face execution if captured by the Republic. "Tang Xiao." Obi-Wan gritted his teeth, anger and defiance evident in his voice. Tang Xiao offered a slight smile. "I hope my men didn't treat you too harshly. After all, I warned them you're a dangerous individual, capable of causing significant harm with little effort. It seems they still felt secure enough to leave you alone with me. Your so-called subordinates might not be as loyal as you think, Obi-Wan retorted, hinting at the potential danger Tang Xiao faced even in his own stronghold. Obi-Wan Kenobi sneered, blood from his recent beating still filling his mouth. He began to use the Force to sense the muscle relaxant coursing through his body, noting that the dosage wasn't significant and was already showing signs of wearing off. With the Force's aid, he hastened the drug's dissipation, preparing himself for what was to come. "Oh, I simply didn't want them to fret over my safety," Tang Xiao said with a casual wave of his hand. "You see, ever since I learned that Obi-Wan Kenobi had been captured, I've been concerned. I even sacrificed my best soldiers, who were gravely injured, to rescue you and bring you here." "You'll get nothing from me," Obi-Wan retorted. "On the contrary, I don't seek to take anything from you. Instead, I wish to offer you something. This is your chance to confront me," Tang Xiao replied. "What could you possibly offer me? Money?" Obi-Wan scoffed, though he engaged Tang Xiao in conversation, hoping to buy time for the drug's effects to fully wear off. "Money? Oh, please, don't be mistaken. I'm actually quite impoverished. This war has been a costly affair," Tang Xiao said, not minding the delay. He continued, lamenting his lack of even a single maid and how all his savings went into constructing warships. He then mentioned Count Dooku as the true wealthy one, often dining luxuriously at his expense. Obi-Wan, observing Tang Xiao's feigned ignorance and folly, felt his anger intensify. 14 years ago, when you were at the mercy of pirates and sought help from my master and me, did you ever imagine that you'd ignite a war across the galaxy? Millions of lives have been destroyed because of this. Have you no conscience? Why this civil war began is something you're well aware of, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Tang Xiao replied coolly. But this ends now. With you. Obi-Wan's anger erupted, and the restraints binding him snapped as he regained full control over his muscles, freed from the relaxant's effects. He lunged at Tang Xiao, believing that capturing him could end the devastating conflict plaguing the Western galaxy. However, he was met with Tang Xiao's mocking sneer. In an instant, Tang Xiao vanished from sight, only to reappear with a cold hand gripping Obi-Wan's face. The force was so intense it felt like iron clamps, robbing Obi-Wan of any ability to resist. "I've already mentioned that I don't require anyone's concern for my safety," Tang Xiao whispered menacingly, his smile turning grotesque. Then, with a brutal force, Tang Xiao slammed Obi-Wan's head against the floor. Dazed, Obi-Wan looked up at Tang Xiao's monstrous grin and murmured, "You are a fallen angel. Please remember the original domain of this book. For the fastest updates, visit the Apex Novel Network's mobile-friendly site. Vol 2, Chapter 1006, Showdown." Obi-Wan Kenobi awoke from his unconscious state, this time not lingering in a coma for an extended period. As he lifted his head, he noticed Tang Xiao had resumed his position in the office, smirking at him with his legs crossed in a relaxed manner. You're the Death Angel. I should have realized." Obi-Wan Kenobi struggled to rise, adopting a defensive stance. The Dawn Planet has always maintained a profound connection with the Death Angel. Tang Xiao scoffed. "Indeed, our early efforts were somewhat clumsy, failing to keep much information under wraps. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to deduce this. Master Yoda's assessment was accurate. A disturbance in the Force has indeed emerged from the model sector, and you, aligning yourself with Count Dooku, have ignited this war." Obi-Wan Kenobi, though aware of his disadvantage, continued to rebuke loudly. "Darth Sidious, or as you know him, Sheev Palpatine, my senior brother," Tang Xiao interjected unexpectedly. Obi-Wan Kenobi paused, taken aback. "What did you say?" "Your esteemed Chancellor is a Sith Lord under the tutelage of Darth Plagueis, just like me," Tang Xiao revealed with a grin, spreading his hands. "So, you see, both factions in this war are led by Sith Lords. Doesn't that put your Jedi Order in an awkward position? Thinking such a lowly and vile jest will unsettle me." Obi-Wan Kenobi's anger flared, feeling mocked by Tang Xiao. Tang Xiao smirked. "Didn't your master Qui-Gon Jinn teach you to use the Force, to sense, to understand? Darth Sidious is causing a disturbance in the Force across the galaxy, especially in Coruscant. It obscures your vision of the future, your destiny. But you should be grateful that I am doing the same." He raised his hand, and an invisible dark force enveloped him. "The mastery of the Force is about comprehension, heritage, and innate talent. Tang Xiao explained, letting the force dissipate. Disturbing the force across the galaxy might seem daunting, but once you grasp the technique, it's simpler than you'd think. However, there's a catch. He raised a finger. You must be at the heart of this destiny. Darth Sidious and I can influence the galaxy's fate, and in turn, use such a destiny to cloud our own force perception. In doing so, we disrupt the force throughout the galaxy. It's akin to a domino effect, requiring minimal effort initially. He looked at Obi-Wan, who had fallen silent, and continued. Because of my actions, Darth Sidious's dark veil has been somewhat disturbed. This interference, I believe, has been noticed by Master Yoda and Master Windu, but they couldn't pinpoint the source. Now, I'm revealing the truth. The real Sith Lord lurking in the shadows is Sheev Palpatine, the Chancellor of the Galactic Republic. Obi-Wan Kenobi scoffed. Pathetic attempts, crude manipulations. You think the inactivity of your fleet in the Eliadu system is due to your failure? Such revelations will never shake our faith. Tang Xiao appeared unfazed. Failure? Indeed, we are bound to lose. With Darth Sidious on one side and his apprentice, Count Dooku, on the other, how could you possibly think we stand a chance? This left Obi-Wan Kenobi speechless, not expecting such an admission from Tang Xiao. Truthfully, I'm more than capable of leaving Dawn Planet and ensuring my survival elsewhere. But do you know why I chose to stay? Tang Xiao's fists clenched, his expression turning fervent. Because I've always believed this galaxy should belong to me. You're insane. Every one of you Sith is a lunatic, Obi-Wan retorted vehemently. Tang Xiao's expression suddenly shifted. Tang Xiao spoke with a straightforward tone. Go back and use your own eyes to find the answer. Sheev Palpatine, is he Darth Sidious? You're letting me go? Obi-Wan expressed his disbelief. Don't worry. Count Dooku is unaware of your capture. You won't suffer the same fate as Ithkos, being imprisoned and tortured. Besides, you're far more capable than him, Obi-Wan. I hold a great deal of respect for you. So, should you ever find yourself in a dire situation, perhaps stranded on Tatooine contemplating a career in butchery, do not hesitate to contact me. I can offer you a position that pays significantly better, Tang Xiao proposed. If I return, everyone will learn that the governor of Planet Dawn is the Angel of Death. Obi-Wan voiced his concern in a grave tone. Tang Xiao responded with a cold smile. Fear not, that won't happen. This information will remain within the confines of the Jedi Order. The reason I'm disclosing this to you is because we share a common adversary, do we not? What are you scheming? Obi-Wan inquired. My goal is to eliminate Darth Sidious. However, given his elevated status, I cannot do it alone. Thus, I must seek assistance from the Jedi Order. You wouldn't refuse to help, would you? Tang Xiao said with a sly chuckle, hinting at the opportune moment for revelation. What have you done to me? Obi-Wan demanded. Oh, nothing of the sort. I assure you, I have no interest in a man's body, Tang Xiao replied dismissively, waving his hands. Your transport to the planet Utapau is ready, please, he added, gesturing towards the door. As he concluded his statement, he waved his hand, and a lightsaber previously concealed under a cloth on the table soared into Obi-Wan's grasp. Obi-Wan scrutinized Tang Xiao, ensuring there were no hidden motives. Without further ado, he exited the office. 2 soldiers awaited him outside, promptly escorting him to the spaceport. Tang Xiao stood by the office window, gazing at the starry expanse with a subtle smile playing on his lips. The war had raged for over a year, with the Confederation of Independent Systems nearly exhausting the war potential of its corporate behemoths. It was only a matter of time before the Galactic Republic launched a counteroffensive, marking the onset of a devastating conflict. The Confederation of Independent Systems, having overextended into the Outer Rim, would soon find itself outmatched by the Galactic Republic's formidable industrial and military might, forced to retreat. At this juncture, members of the Jedi Order with a keen sense of politics, like Master Windu, would start to notice shifts within the Galactic Republic's political landscape. Similarly, those attuned to the Force, such as Master Yoda, would sense the dark side's fluctuations. There could be no better time for this. Letting the Jedi Order and Darth Sidious engage in conflict first would afford the Fourth Civilization precious time. Most crucially, he had not mentioned Order 66. Please remember the first domain name of this book, website. The fastest update on the Apex Novel Network mobile version. Vol 2, Chapter 1007, Changes in the Interstellar Banking Association. Obi-Wan Kenobi disembarked from his ship and stepped onto the bustling spaceport of the planet Utapau. Nestled in the remote southern reaches of the Milky Way, Utapau was a planet under the joint control of two distinct races, the Uta and the Pa. Despite its relatively developed industry, the onset of war had forced Utapau to declare neutrality. Eager to reconnect with his forces, Obi-Wan was relieved to finally establish contact, though he was disheartened to learn that the Republic Army had retreated from the planet Malastare. Commander Cody of the 212th Assault Battalion, aboard one of the retreating Acclamator-class assault ships, was overjoyed to hear Obi-Wan's voice. "General Obi-Wan, I never thought I'd hear your voice again. We feared you were lost." "What happened?" Obi-Wan inquired, sensing the gravity of the situation. "It was a fierce battle," Cody explained, his voice heavy with sorrow. "After you were shot, the enemy's focus shifted away from us, allowing our escape, but we still lost over 300 of our brothers." "A failed engagement?" Obi-Wan's heart sank further. "Yes, Supreme Strategic Command decided that with the blockade of the Eriadu galaxy, sending supplies through the Malastare hyperspace route was futile. Our losses on Malastare were too great." Cody's voice trailed off, the initial joy of reconnecting with Obi-Wan now overshadowed by the grim reality of their situation. The Republic's withdrawal from Malastare signified an acknowledgement of defeat in the Eriadu system. With Eriadu cut off from external support and under siege, even the most optimistic among the Republic's generals could not foresee a favorable outcome. "Follow the orders and return to base for now. I need to head to the Jedi Temple on Coruscant to meet with Master Yoda," Obi-Wan instructed, his mind heavy with the weight of their losses. "Yes, General," Cody replied, his tone solemn. Obi-Wan pocketed his communicator and surveyed his surroundings. Despite Utapau's neutrality, the presence of B-1 battle droids patrolling the area was a stark reminder of the ongoing conflict. With a sigh, he adjusted his cloak to better conceal his identity and boarded a dilapidated passenger ship used by miners, blending in with the crowd. Meanwhile, Tang Xiao was preoccupied with his own endeavors. The Confederation of Independent Systems was undergoing internal reorganization, and Tang Xiao found himself mediating between Ainul Tim, the Freemasons, and Count Dooku to strategize the most effective reformation. His goal was clear: to ensure the Confederation's prolonged survival on the battlefield and to fan the flames of rebellion. Convinced of the necessity of his involvement, Tang Xiao was determined to prevent the collapse of the Fourth Civilization and the premature rise of the Galactic Empire. Time was of the essence, and after days of relentless work, he finally carved out a moment to pursue another personal project. A mysterious coordinate had been sent to him by Zerakas, leader of the Protoss Sherak tribe, marking the beginning of a new venture. However, just as he was about to depart, another communication arrived, this time from the co-chair of the Interstellar Banking Association, further complicating Tang Xiao's plans. On the remote planet of Murinster, Tang Xiao was invited by Thornhill to attend a dinner party. However, Tang Xiao quickly realized that Thornhill had more on his mind than just dinner. The shuttle landed far from the designated location on the map, on Abora Island, which was once known as Hego Damask II. This island housed the secret laboratory of Tang Xiao's master, Das Prey Gus. Upon arrival, Sandhill, who was visibly nervous and fidgeting with his clothes, cautiously requested navigation permission before daring to pilot the spacecraft to the island. Upon disembarking, Sandhill's discomfort was palpable. However, Tang Xiao, now in his domain, assumed his true identity as Darth Mashayan, making it clear that formalities were unnecessary. "It seems you're in quite a predicament, Your Excellency Co-Chairman," Darth Mashayan remarked with a hint of sarcasm. Sandhill, visibly shaken, admitted through clenched teeth, "Yes, my lord, it's Rush Clovis." "I'm concerned," Sandhill began, fear evident in his eyes as he faced Darth Mashayan. "I fear my tenure as co-chairman may be short-lived." Darth Mashayan had anticipated this, but was slightly taken aback by the immediacy of the issue. "So soon?" he inquired. Sandhill explained, "My lord, as you've surmised, I've managed to maintain my position through various means. However, by next year at the latest, the Interstellar Banking Association will hold a general election, and I fear I've already lost much of my support." Darth Mashian nodded, understanding the inevitability of the situation. Sandhill's initial rise to co-chairman was heavily supported by Hago Damask II, and although Hago had passed away, his influence had helped Sandhill secure his first re-election. However, the internal dynamics within the Interstellar Banking Association had shifted significantly. A clear indication of this was the gradual removal of the Damask holding group, now under Das Massier's control, from the industrial system of the Interstellar Banking Association, effectively becoming an asset of the Fourth Civilization. Sandhill's predicament was exacerbated by his excessive investment in the war effort, a move that had not only strained his resources, but also provided his rivals with ammunition to challenge his position. It was the investment in the Infinite-class super aircraft carrier that Rush Clovis opposed, forcing us to divert funds to the Galactic Republic. Furthermore, he orchestrated another investment with the Techno-Union on Geonosis to develop a super-tank. Sandhill continued, outlining the strategic moves that had cornered him. Darth Mashian frowned, recognizing the gravity of the situation. Clovis is compelling the forces within the Interstellar Banking Association to pick a side, while simultaneously extending an olive branch to the Techno-Union and Count Dooku. This maneuver is clearly aimed at us. Darth Sidious is well aware of his objectives. Sandhill, with a heavy heart, confirmed, "Indeed, Clovis has launched a formidable attack against me, secretly backed by Palpatine." Please note, this narrative has been enhanced for clarity, coherence, and engagement, while maintaining the essence of the original text. Vol 2, Chapter 1008, Target, Kuna Cluster. Das Marthael inquired, "So what's the current situation within the Interstellar Banking Association?" Thornhill explained, "The situation is clear now. It involves humans and moons. However, this isn't a direct confrontation between the two species, but rather a struggle between two distinct interest groups. On one side, we have the moons, who represent the traditional consortiums and forces within the Banking Association. On the other side, there are the emerging forces backed by human nobles from the galaxy's inner circle." "And what about the Core Five?" Darth Marthael probed further. "The Core Five members are akin to the Supreme Council of the Interstellar Banking Association, consisting of 5 munes. Along with the co-chairman, they form the highest governing body of the association. This is our last stronghold. The Core Five, along with my position as co-chairman, means the highest level of the Interstellar Banking Association is still under our control. However, with the increasing support for the human faction from the core circle, it's only a matter of time before our influence is undermined," Thornhill admitted. "Now, what else are they planning besides the investment in Geonosis? A mere super tank project, despite its billions of credits cost, won't disrupt the power structure within the Interstellar Banking Association," Darth Marthael remarked. Sandhill nodded gravely and uttered, "DS-1 project. DS-1, the Death Star? Hess, so Darth Sidious has finally found an opportunity to revive the project we had terminated." Darth Marthael's expression darkened. "Exactly. The Supertank project is merely a smokescreen. The real game-changer is the DS-1 project. The investment in this project is conservatively estimated to exceed 1 trillion credits. It's a staggering amount, even for the Interstellar Banking Association. And Rush Clovis has promised that this investment will alter the galaxy's landscape, positioning us as the true rulers," Thornhill revealed. Darth Marthael scoffed. "Letting Darth Sidious become the master of the galaxy? Clovis is nothing but a pawn. But let me tell you, even if the DS-1 project succeeds, it won't be through him. The DS-1 project's secrets were entrusted to the Geonosians for development. The Supertank project served as a diversion to make our financial involvement less conspicuous. What I can tell you is that the Techno-Union and Archduke Poggle, the Lesser of Geonosis, have been completely captivated by this plan," Sandhill added. Darth Marthael sneered. "As I said, Darth Sidious won't allow an entity like the Interstellar Banking Association to escape his control. And now with the Techno-Union and a Geonosian planet involved. That's clever of Darth Sidious. What should I do if I'm no longer the co-chair, am I?" Thornhill panicked. Darth Marthael placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You remain a member of the Freemasonry, Your Excellency Thornhill. But, remember what I told you before? When the Foundation is constantly under threat, "It's time to act," Darth Marthael said, casually extending his hand. He dipped his finger in blood, then wrote a word on Thornhill's palm. "Technology Union and Poggle the Lesser. I will handle them myself. And the Interstellar Banking Association."
Ha!
Upon seeing the word, Sandhill's expression shifted dramatically. He suddenly looked up at Darth Marthael, but received no further response. A gust of wind blew him out of the laboratory, and the door closed automatically behind him, sealing off the interior. Stumbling back to his shuttle, Sandhill sat in the driver's seat. He spread his hands again, trembling as he looked at the word written on his palm, a simple letter, G. His eyes transitioned from restlessness to fear, and then to determination. Finally, he clenched his teeth and revealed a cruel smile. With a swift motion, the shuttle ascended, piercing the sky. Darth Marthael made his way to the secluded rear of the laboratory and leaped into a pit that appeared to be a mere 5 meters deep to the naked eye and instruments alike, as well as to the senses of the Force. However, in reality, he descended into the depths, reaching a secret Sith altar 70 meters below. With a mere gesture, a book of mysterious origin and imbued with a dark, ominous aura levitated before him. In the absence of any breeze, the pages turned autonomously, revealing inscriptions teeming with dark power. This was the Book of Sith. Seated cross-legged upon the blood-stained Sith altar, Darth Marthael immersed himself in the dark energies emanating from the book, delving into the sinister knowledge it contained. Time seemed to stand still until suddenly he opened his eyes. A fleeting glint of gold sparkled in their depths before vanishing without a trace. "I have perceived the extent of my current limitations," Darth Marthael mused, examining his hand closely as he held it before him. Dark energy swirled in his palm, vanishing and then reappearing in a continuous cycle with each movement of his hand. "Korriban, the time has come. If Xerakas's intelligence proves accurate, this journey will grant me the power to return here. Korriban," he chuckled darkly, pondering the repercussions his newfound power might unleash. "What ripples will the cause of my demise create, I wonder?" Meanwhile, Master Yoda's eyes snapped open, his gaze piercing through the battleship's porthole, across the vast expanse of space, and touching upon the shroud of darkness. A disturbance in the Force, the dark side's power, fate, and prophecy, the obscured truth, all drift further away, he lamented, shaking his head. Approaching him, a senior officer dressed in the uniform of a general of the Galactic Republic saluted respectfully. "Master Yoda, preparations are complete. According to our calculations, we will reach the hyperspace plateau in 10 minutes. The success of our military operation against the Kuna star cluster rests on your shoulders." Master Yoda, leaning on his cane, approached the porthole to gaze upon the vast, dark red gas giant beyond. The planet's immense size dwarfed their battleship, making it seem insignificant in comparison. Around them, a fleet of 30 Chaser-class battlecruisers had assembled. "Darkness awaits us. Yet, victory is within our grasp, guided by the Force. The path forward I shall illuminate," Master Yoda declared, channeling a formidable force into the void of hyperspace, creating ripples undetectable by any instrument. The Republic General, standing tall on the bridge, issued his command with conviction. "All ships, initiate hyperspace engines immediately. Follow Master Yoda's lead." At his command, the crew aboard the 30 Chaser-class battlecruisers sprang into action. The hyperspace engines, already primed, began their charging sequence. Following Master Yoda's lead, the general gave the final order: initiate jump. Destination, Kuna Cluster. Remember, for the latest updates, visit the official website of the Apex Novel Network. Volume 2, Chapter 1009, Allegation. Obi-Wan Kenobi strode through the expansive, luminous corridors of the Jedi Temple, his rough-spun cloak bearing the marks of battle, scorch marks, and dust. The Jedi Knights and apprentices he passed did not look upon his war-torn appearance with disdain. Instead, they regarded him with respect. Every Jedi Knight who had valiantly fought for the Republic on the battlefield was held in high esteem. He made his way directly to the top floor of the Jedi Temple. However, upon exiting the elevator, he was stopped by a Jedi Knight. The Knight bowed respectfully and said, "Respected Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, Master Windu is currently in a meeting within the chamber. It would be inconvenient to disturb him at this moment." "What about Master Yoda?" Obi-Wan inquired, a frown creasing his brow. Master Yoda has recently departed with his troops, the Jedi Knight replied calmly. Then I shall wait here, Obi-Wan decided. Please do, the Jedi Knight gestured grandly, though he remained firmly in place, effectively blocking the way. Feeling anxious yet without recourse, Obi-Wan began to pace the corridor. After about half an hour, the soft sound of a door opening caught his attention. He hurried over to find that the Jedi Knights guarding the door no longer barred his way. As he approached the council hall's entrance, he saw Master Mace Windu emerging. Master Windu, I have something of great importance to report. It concerns many matters. The Dawn Planet, the speaker, among others, Obi-Wan said urgently. Before Master Windu could respond, a gentle voice came from behind him. Ah, Master Obi-Wan, I believe you have something you wish to discuss with me? Looking up, Obi-Wan saw none other than Sheev Palpatine, the Speaker of the Galactic Republic, standing inside the chamber. This was not the person Master Windu had been meeting with. Despite the kind appearance of the elderly man before him, a certain aloofness marked his expression, a byproduct of long-held power. Obi-Wan struggled to reconcile the image of this man with that of a Sith Lord. Similarly, the thought of Tang Xiao being a Sith Lord shook his confidence. Yet, as he gazed at Palpatine once more, the shadows of doubt began to dissipate. Master Obi-Wan? Palpatine's voice, tinged with amusement, broke the silence. It's quite impolite to stare at His Excellency the Speaker, Master Windu chided, noticing Obi-Wan's fixed gaze. Snapped out of his reverie, Obi-Wan stepped aside and bowed, his hands clasped over his chest. My apologies, Your Excellency. My mind wandered due to my eagerness to discuss the battlefield situation with Master Windu. Such lapses should not occur, especially not in a Jedi Knight of your stature, Master Obi-Wan. Master Windu admonished sternly. Oh, I believe it's understandable. After all, the news from Marathar was quite grim, and at one point we feared you had been lost, Master Obi-Wan. Now, I suggest you take some time to rest. We still have many battles ahead, Palpatine said with a reassuring smile before nodding to Master Windu and departing. Once Palpatine was out of earshot, Master Windu addressed Obi-Wan with a serious tone. You have something important to discuss. However, you must learn to control your emotions in front of the speaker. It could put us at a disadvantage. Yes, Obi-Wan acknowledged, bowing his head. Master Windu then led Obi-Wan into the chamber, closed the door, and activated a signal blocker to ensure privacy. Taking a deep breath, Obi-Wan revealed, I have discovered the true identity of the hidden Sith Lord, the Angel of Death. He is Tang Xiao, the governor of the Dawn Planet. Master Windu's brow furrowed in concern. Are you certain it's Tang Xiao? This is an extraordinary claim. Yet, upon reflection, it does seem plausible. He paused, deep in thought. The matter at hand was of such gravity that it was to be confined to the Supreme Council of the Jedi Order for the time being. A meeting was scheduled for the following day to strategize on how to confront the threat posed by the so-called fallen angel. Obi-Wan Kenobi, with a heavy heart, reflected on the irony of the situation. Often, it was one's adversaries who understood them best. Yet, the status quo remained unchallenged. This led him to ponder the motivations behind the Angel of Death's unexpected candor. Our approach must remain unchanged, yet this information is crucial, Master Obi-Wan. I am truly grateful for your sacrifices and your remarkable bravery. Master Windu acknowledged, echoing Obi-Wan's thoughts. However, to vanquish the Angel of Death, we must adhere to our original plan and proceed cautiously. If he has been concealing himself on the planet Dawn, our options for a direct assassination are limited. Master Windu continued, expressing his concern. Master Yoda has already mobilized the fleet, targeting the Dawn Planet. Throughout this war, the threat from Dawn Planet has been second only to that posed by General Grievous. Now, understanding that Tang Xiao is the Angel of Death himself, the pieces of the puzzle begin to fall into place. Obi-Wan then shared another piece of intelligence, though he prefaced it with a warning about its potential gravity and the uncertainty surrounding its veracity. This information could herald a seismic shift if proven true, he cautioned. Master Windu's demeanor grew more serious. I trust you wouldn't describe it as such without good reason, he replied. The information comes directly from the Angel of Death. He revealed that his master was Darth Plagueis, who also went by the name Hago Damask, a former co-chairman of the Interstellar Banking Association on Musk II. Moreover, Darth Plagueis had not one but two apprentices, the Angel of Death and another, Darth Sidious, Obi-Wan disclosed. At this revelation, Master Windu's grip tightened visibly, a storm of emotions brewing within him. Taking a moment to steady himself, Obi-Wan continued, "And Darth Sidious is none other than Sheev Palpatine." The weight of this accusation seemed to unleash a formidable force from Master Windu, causing the council room to tremble. This is a grave accusation, one that could shake the very foundations of the Galactic Republic and our Jedi Order. "Now, tell me everything once more," Master Windu said, his voice quivering with the magnitude of the revelation. This moment marked a pivotal point in their struggle, a revelation that could alter the course of their fight against the dark forces threatening the galaxy. Volume 2, Chapter 1010, The Mon Calamari Dispute, Part 1. Obi-Wan Kenobi steadied his mind once more before speaking. Darth Sidious is none other than Chancellor Palpatine of the Galactic Republic. Although the evidence is not definitive, the information itself is accurate. Master Windu, with a tone of certainty rather than inquiry, responded, "This revelation was imparted to you by the deceased angel. He returned you to us so that you could deliver this message. It is my deepest regret, Master Windu, yet I must step forward with this information. I intended to seclude myself in the basement for contemplation," Obi-Wan expressed, his voice laden with shame. "The battlefield is where one cleanses their shame, not the basement. You should return to the battlefield, Master Obi-Wan," Master Windu advised. However, the notion that Chancellor Palpatine is Darth Sidious raises questions. What, then, is the status of Count Dooku? Count Dooku is not a Sith, though he is ostensibly an apprentice to Darth Sidious, Obi-Wan clarified. Master Windu pondered deeply for a moment before shaking his head. "I'm not convinced we can act on this. Chancellor Palpatine's demeanor is exceedingly ordinary. He visits the Jedi Temple without issue, engages in direct conversation with both Master Yoda and myself, and exhibits normal physical responses, such as an increased heart rate and heavier breathing upon ascending stairs. His daily activities are befitting of a chancellor. I've never observed any misconduct. Were this accusation against anyone else in the Galactic Council, I might be inclined to believe it, but Palpatine..." He sighed heavily. "I'm inclined to believe this is a disruption caused by the deceased angel within our ranks. But Master Windu, we must remain vigilant against this possibility," Obi-Wan insisted. "When Tang Xiao stood before me, I detected no signs of his true nature. It was only through his sudden actions that I discovered he was a formidable Sith Lord. Yet, the simplest explanation is that Palpatine is not Darth Sidious," Master Windu countered. "However, if this is indeed the case, we must consider our next steps carefully. The reasons behind this war, the vested interests, the conflict between Sith Lords, and the internal strife within the Galactic Republic are all exceedingly complex and likely beyond our control." He sighed again. Viewed from this perspective, perhaps the worst-case scenario is indeed true. However, we cannot afford to panic. We must first conduct a covert investigation to uncover any potential missteps by Darth Sidious. Regardless, the deceased angel has succeeded in his aim, complicating our ability to act decisively. Obi-Wan nodded, then shook his head, uncertain of how to respond. "For now, speak of this to no one. Only you and I are aware of this matter. Master Yoda is currently leading a military operation. Upon his return, I will discuss this matter with him in detail," Master Windu instructed. "Until then, act as though this information does not exist." "Yes," Obi-Wan agreed, turning to leave. However, as he reached the door, he heard Master Windu add, "The Galactic Republic is indeed undergoing significant changes." Obi-Wan looked back at Windu, who continued, "Power within the Republic is consolidating around Palpatine and his inner circle. They exert control over nearly every aspect of the Republic, from administration to military, from economic to industrial sectors. My greater concern now is whether he will relinquish this power back to the Council after the war, as promised." With that, Master Windu turned away, closed his eyes in meditation, and fell silent. Obi-Wan nodded, then exited the room. Meanwhile, on the northeastern side of the Milky Way galaxy, the planet Mon Calamari faced its own challenges. In the western part of the galaxy, a fierce battle raged around the Eliadu system. In the central region, General Grievous engaged the Republic fleet in intense combat within the Antar system, signaling the Republic's readiness to launch a Brat counterattack. In the northern reaches of the Milky Way, the enigmatic robot race known as the Geth began exhibiting signs of unrest. Amidst this galactic tension, the planet of Mon Calamari, originally named Dak, found itself under a growing wave of internal strife. Dak is an oceanic world, its vast expanses covered almost entirely by water, save for a smattering of islands. It is home to two distinct aquatic species, the Mon Calamari, resembling terrestrial flounders and dwelling in the planet's shallow seas and coral reefs, and the Quarren, squid-like beings who inhabit the deeper, darker waters. Initially, interactions between the Mon Calamari and the Quarren were minimal. However, as both civilizations advanced, their burgeoning technological prowess led to a rivalry for planetary dominance. This competition culminated in a devastating civil war 4,500 years ago, which ended in a decisive victory for the Mon Calamari. The conflict was brutal, pushing the Quarren to the brink of extinction. In the aftermath, a faction within the Mon Calamari, repulsed by the notion of genocide, advocated for the rehabilitation of the Quarren population. Through artificial means and advanced technology, they sought to increase the Quarren's fertility rates, allowing them to recover and grow in numbers. Consequently, the Quarren were relegated to a servile status, their innate ability to thrive in deep-sea conditions exploited for the benefit of Mon Calamari's development. From that point forward, the planet Dak became widely recognized as Mon Calamari, a name that also came to represent the planet's most renowned contribution to the galaxy, its unique approach to shipbuilding. The Mon Calamari were adept at constructing vessels directly within the ocean's depths, which could then launch into space. In some instances, they would retrofit underwater structures with advanced propulsion systems, transforming them into spacecraft. Thus, the sleek, rounded spaceships often seen near Mon Calamari might have served as hotels or post offices just days before their conversion. The Quarren played a significant role in the evolution of Mon Calamari's shipbuilding industry. Their deep-sea expertise proved invaluable, not only in their traditional habitat, but also in industrial and technological endeavors, showcasing their capabilities as skilled engineers. Over time, the Quarren began to shed their chains of servitude, striving for equality and greater rights through persistent effort and contribution to their shared world. This narrative underscores the complex history and dynamic society of Mon Calamari, a planet that has navigated the tumultuous waters of conflict and reconciliation to emerge as a beacon of technological innovation in the galaxy. Vol 2, Chapter 1011, The Mon Calamari Dispute, Part 2. In the ongoing struggle of the Quarren, they finally achieved a significant victory. For over 400 years, the Quarren have been permitted to participate in the high-level political sphere, securing seats in the Mon Calamari delegation. Given the Quarren's status and the outcomes following the war, 4,500 years ago, it's evident that the Mon Calamari have extended considerable efforts towards reconciliation. However, the Quarren, never fully satisfied, yearned for more influence. Increasingly, Quarren political factions began to advocate for the rotation of the planet's monarchy, aiming to challenge the Mon Calamari's supreme authority. This proposition, however, crossed a line for the Mon Calamari, who found it utterly unacceptable. Aware of this, the Quarren mostly limited their ambitions to mere discussions. Yet, as the political landscape of the Galactic Republic grew more chaotic towards its end, some began to take action. Mon Calamari, represented in the Galactic Council, found a new Quarren leader in Senator Tikis. During the rise of Count Dooku's separatist movement, Tikis aligned with Dooku, gaining his promise and support to establish the Quarren Isolation Alliance. Their goal was ambitious: to dethrone the Mon Calamari and claim rulership over the planet. Count Dooku, recognizing the Quarren's exceptional engineering capabilities, saw the potential in Tikis's plan. Securing Mon Calamari, a leading industrial planet in the Outer Rim capable of designing and constructing large warships, would be a strategic victory for the Separatists, who were in dire need of industrial support. When the war erupted a year prior, Tikis believed his moment had arrived. He rallied the Quarren Isolation Alliance to initiate a rebellion on Mon Calamari, deploying a vast array of underwater combat droids supplied by Count Dooku to assault the Mon Calamari city. Despite the initial setbacks faced by the Galactic Republic at the war's onset, they quickly responded by dispatching a cheerleader-class assault landing ship, commanded by Jedi Master Kit Fisto. Fisto, belonging to an aquatic species himself, proved to be exceptionally adept in the aquatic environment of Mon Calamari. Under his command, the Mon Calamari forces successfully repelled the Quarren Isolation Alliance, forcing Tychus to flee. In the aftermath, Yos Kalina, the reigning Mon Calamari king, displayed remarkable magnanimity. He dismissed the Quarren Isolation Alliance's actions as mere extremism and extended an invitation to another Quarren, Tundra Daumia, to join the Mon Calamari delegation in the Galactic Council. This gesture aimed to represent the Quarren who aspired for unity and peace. This approach starkly contrasted with the Galactic Republic's interventions on other planets, where their involvement often exacerbated conflicts. Following their failed uprising, the Quarren Isolation Alliance, still under Tikka's leadership, retreated to the colonies of Parmint and Mintuin, previously under Quarren control. Utilizing the industrial facilities there, they established what would become the largest shipbuilding center within the Confederacy of Independent Systems. Many of their ship designs were appropriated from the Mon Calamari during the rebellion. They constructed the vast port of Parmint on Parmint, where they began producing Conqueror-class battleships, Divinity-class destroyers, and Disobedient-class light destroyers for the Confederacy. Additionally, they founded the Free Dak Volunteer Engineering Corps, a massive shipbuilding enterprise. The name itself reflected their longing for their true homeworld, Dak, challenging the notion that Mon Calamari was their original home. The inhabitants of Mon Calamari, who steadfastly believed their planet should retain its original name, Dak, have never forgotten their roots or their ambitions. As the war escalated, particularly after General Grievous's aggressive campaign that threatened to engulf the galaxy, Mon Calamari found itself increasingly isolated, wrapped behind the separatist lines. The only link to the Galactic Republic was through a precarious hyperspace channel. General Grievous's expansion of the conflict to the Antares galaxy, located in the inner ring of the Milky Way, exacerbated Mon Calamari's dire situation. In this turmoil, Count Dooku and Senator Tix extended their influence towards the beleaguered planet. The involvement of Dawn Planet and Darth Marthael further complicated matters. In April of 24 BBY, a shocking event occurred. King Jos Kalina of Mon Calamari was assassinated, intensifying the already strained relations between the Mon Calamari and the Quarren inhabitants of the planet. Tradition dictated that Prince Lee Char, Jos Kalina's son, should ascend to the throne. However, given Prince Lee Char's youth and the prevailing skepticism among the populace regarding his capability to lead in such tumultuous times, his succession was not universally supported. Seizing the moment, Sonori, a prominent Quarren leader on Mon Calamari, proposed himself as a temporary regent. He argued that he would steward the planet until Prince Lee Char was ready to assume the throne. Having served alongside King Jos Corina for decades, Sonori was a seasoned politician with the credentials to lead. However, his suggestion was not without controversy, as it was clear that Mon Calamari politicians lacked the stature to rival Sonori's influence. The situation quickly escalated as Sonori and the Quarren refused to concede the throne to Prince Lee Char, framing the dispute as a matter of security for the entire planet and its inhabitants. With tensions mounting towards a potential civil war, the Mon Calamari had no choice but to seek mediation from the Galactic Republic. Count Dooku, ever opportunistic, claimed that the Galactic Republic's mediation was biased in favor of the Mon Calamari, rendering it invalid. He then dispatched a special mission to the planet. Among the envoys sent by Count Dooku were three notable figures: Carl Carrollton Riff Tamsin, a shark-like aquatic being, Solarian Landon Winelden, and Adela Kedis. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, a representation of the Quarren Isolation Alliance by Senator Tix, evoking imagery reminiscent of a horror movie. Please note the original domain name of this book for the latest updates on the Apex Novel Network's mobile version. Vol 2, Chapter 112, Sharp Contradiction. Reeve Tamsin, a trusted confidant of Count Dooku, led the Confederate mission of the Independent System, accompanied by advisors Artanis and Laden Winalden. They were received in the domed city of Aquarius, nestled deep within the ocean of planet Mon Calamari by Sonori, the Quarren leader. Your Excellency Reeve Tamsin, we are deeply grateful for your presence. In our time of isolation and despair, the support from the Confederation of Independent Systems has been invaluable. Sonori greeted the envoy with respect. Reeve Tamsin, exuding confidence, inquired, I'm eager to know the current situation on Dak Planet. What's the status? The unfortunate demise of Jos Kalina has presented us with an unparalleled opportunity, Sonori replied, his voice quivering slightly. Despite thorough investigations, the murderer remains unidentified. The Solarian Special Forces are infallible, Laden Winalden interjected swiftly. Sonori, with a hint of resignation, added, the Quarren have initiated a resistance movement backed by legitimate grievances. However, impatiently, Reeve Tamsin pressed, however, what? We are on the brink of achieving our goal, but the Mon Calamari will never permit the Quarren to assume control of the planet, not even temporarily, Sonori explained. Reeve Tamsin, revealing his ferocious fangs in a sinister smile, assured, we will assist you in taking that final step. You shall be crowned the king of Dak Planet. Sonori, with unwavering determination, stated, that is precisely my ambition and the sole condition for my support to Count Dooku. When is the Republic's special mission expected to arrive? Artanis inquired, her charm evident despite her formal attire, a stark contrast to her usual Sith leotards. It should have arrived by now, but there's been no word. I suspect Bel Organa might be leading it, Sonori speculated. The Planetary Council is convening this afternoon, where both our envoys and those from the Republic will make their appearances. Reeve Tamsin, with a malevolent grin, responded, Indeed? I'm looking forward to it. Meanwhile, in the Coral Depth City, the capital of Mon Calamari, the Planet Council was in session. We must, according to the Supreme Constitution of Mon Calamari, immediately crown Prince Lee Char, son of the late King Jos Kalina, to oversee the affairs of Mon Calamari, a congressman passionately argued. This is a hasty decision. Prince Lee Char might make a fine king in a decade, but currently he is merely a child, another countered. Despite his youth, Prince Lee Char has demonstrated remarkable courage and conviction. King Jos Kalina's established administrative framework is more than capable of supporting Prince Lee Char in his royal duties, another congressman supported. In peacetime, we would wholeheartedly endorse Prince Lee Char's ascension. However, the galaxy is embroiled in war, and our strategic position makes Dak Planet vulnerable. Can we truly entrust a teenager with navigating the precarious balance between war and peace, ensuring our planet's survival? Sonori challenged. As the debate raged on, Reeve Tamsin, Artanis, and Laden Winalden, observing from the guest stage, noticed the arrival of the Galactic Republic's special envoy, Senator Padme Amidala, Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker, and his apprentice, Ahsoka Tano. The tension was palpable, with Anakin and Ahsoka's gaze particularly hostile. Yet despite the undercurrents of conflict, the proceedings of the Planetary Council continued. The council chamber was tense, but the members restrained themselves. Adela Caddis, with a playful smile, stretched out her pointed tongue to lick her upper lip. She then twisted her waist in a charming gesture and ran her thumb across her neck in a provocative manner. Ahsoka Tano nearly lost her composure at the sight, but Anakin Skywalker held her back. Frustrated, Ahsoka stomped her foot, turned her head away, and tried to ignore the provocation, adhering to the principle of out of sight, out of mind. The internal conflict went unnoticed by the rest of the parliamentary floor, as Prince Lee Char was about to take the stage to deliver a speech. The young prince hesitated as he looked over the Parliament Hall, which was designed to mimic the Galactic Republic's structure. The egg-shaped chamber meant all eyes would be on him once he approached the podium. At his side, the captain of the guard, a figure of great stature, offered reassurance. Gather your courage, Prince. You show great resolve in your daily training. We all believe in you and stand behind you, he encouraged. Grateful for the support, Prince Lee Char nodded to Captain Jial Akbar. I will do my best, Captain, he affirmed. Taking a deep breath, he stepped up to the microphone and began. I promise to live up to everyone's expectations, to fulfill my father's wishes and to lead our planet forward with diligence. I will carefully manage the affairs of both the Mon Calamari and the Quarren people, ensuring equality for both races. I believe that everyone, whether Mon Calamari or Quarren, is part of this family." His speech was rudely interrupted by loud laughter. Reeve Tamsin stepped forward, his laughter booming through the chamber. "What a noble sentiment. Do your best. What can a mere child achieve? This is politics, boy. This is war, not a child's plaything. Even with your best efforts, what impact can you make?" His words incited the opposition, particularly the Quarren MPs, who began to shout and jeer, mocking Prince Lichar's youth and inexperience. Overwhelmed, the young prince faltered, but then a commanding presence stepped forward to shield him. It was Captain Jar Akbar. "Regardless of today's topic, look at yourselves. This is the Planetary Council, the pinnacle of authority over our planet's economy and people's welfare. And yet, you lack even the most basic respect," he rebuked. Anakin Skywalker also stood, pointing directly at the envoys from the Confederation of Independent Systems, specifically targeting Adela Cadis. The more pressing issue is the presence of separatist representatives here. Moreover, why are followers of the dark side, traitors to the Jedi Order, among us? Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter. Please remember the first domain name of this book. The fastest update on the Apex Novel Network mobile version. Vol 2, Chapter 1013, Mon Calamari Civil War 1. The dark side of the Force is merely a manifestation of power. Is there a law that declares the dark side of the Force illegal? Adela Cadis asked with a sly smile. She stepped forward, gesturing towards Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano, and announced loudly, "Ladies and gentlemen, please observe closely. These are the special envoys sent by the Galactic Republic. These two Jedi Knights possess the power to annihilate everyone here. Not even an army could stand in their way." The crowd erupted into chaos upon hearing her words. Adela Cadis, basking in her moment of pride, continued to provoke the audience. In this horrendous war, the Jedi Order acts as executioners, slaughtering thousands on every battlefield, and these are the individuals chosen as special envoys by the Galactic Republic. What does this say about the Republic's intentions? Are they planning to resolve conflicts through brute force? You deceitful liar! Ahsoka Tano could no longer contain her anger. In a swift motion, she leaped onto the table, her hand already gripping the hilt of her lightsaber. Adela Cadis sneered. "Look, the butcher is about to show her true colors." Ahsoka Tano, seething with rage, retorted, "Scum like you only bring suffering to the galaxy." As she prepared to strike, she suddenly realized her lightsaber wouldn't budge. Turning around, she saw Anakin Skywalker holding her back. Then, Padme Amidala embraced Ahsoka Tano, whispering urgently, "You must control yourself. Ahsoka, please. Acting out now would play right into the Separatists' hands." Ahsoka Tano managed to calm down slightly, though her eyes still burned with a fierce desire for justice as she glared at Adela Cadis. Adela Cadis, feigning fear, clutched her chest dramatically. Oh, how terrifying! A Jedi Knight ready to draw her weapon and attack in the middle of a planetary council meeting. Anakin Skywalker, with a stern expression, stepped forward and said calmly, "If I'm not mistaken, Adela Cadis, you too possess the power to kill everyone here. So what exactly are the Separatists planning?" Adela Cadis laughed mockingly, leaping onto the platform. She opened her dress to reveal a black, tight leather outfit underneath, showcasing her figure. She twirled gracefully, as if performing a dance. "See, I didn't bring a lightsaber." "You reckless fool." Anakin Skywalker barely contained his anger, his self-control evidently stronger than Ahsoka Tano's. "Separatists have no right to be at this meeting. Your very existence is unrecognized by anyone. Planet Jabim recognizes us, as do planets Maratha, Geonosis, Christophsis, and Tiblin. Shall I continue? You're quite familiar with these planets, aren't you, Skywalker?" Adela Cadis's words were laced with venom, and her use of the name Skywalker was a deliberate provocation. In the midst of this heated exchange, Sonori, with a glance at the Solarian representative Langdon Winalden, stepped forward to silence both parties. His voice boomed. "Enough! Silence, both of you! This applies to the Republic and the Confederacy of Independent Systems alike." The room fell silent at his command, with representatives from both the Mon Calamari and Quarren factions looking at Sonori with respect. It was rare for someone to openly challenge the Republic or a special envoy from the Confederacy, especially a Jedi Knight. Padme Amidala, sensing the political implications, quickly gestured to Anakin and Ahsoka to stand down. Meanwhile, Adela Cadis, surprisingly compliant, stepped down from the stage. Sonori adjusted her dress and stepped aside, responding with grace to the public's admiration. This simple gesture further solidified her esteemed reputation among both factions present. However, the expressions of Mon Calamari's chief guard, Jair Akbar, and Reeve Tamsin were notably grim, each for their own distinct reasons. This matter concerns the internal affairs of our planet, Dak. Whether you represent the Galactic Republic or the Confederation of Independent Systems, your role here is to mediate, not exacerbate the situation, Sonori declared with conviction. Her words ignited a wave of applause from her supporters, which quickly spread throughout the entire parliament, culminating in a thunderous ovation. From the shadows, Reeve Tamsin glared at Adra Kadis and hissed, "What the hell are you doing? Are you oblivious to my plan? Remember, I am your leader here." "I was merely trying to protect you, Mr. Tamsin. You saw for yourself how close those two Jedi Knights came to killing," Adra Kadis replied earnestly, a stark contrast to her earlier flirtatious demeanor on stage. "Enough with your excuses. The planet Dak plays a crucial role in Count Dooku's strategy. Should you fail to resolve this issue, expect no mercy from me," Tamsin threatened, baring his fearsome fangs. Meanwhile, Jair Akbar leaned in to whisper to Prince Lee Char, "We find ourselves at a disadvantage, Prince. We must employ every means at our disposal to navigate this predicament." He then subtly signaled to the guards behind him. The Mon Calamari representative, wearing a somber expression, also advised Prince Lee Char, "We cannot allow the situation to escalate further. The integrity of Mon Calamari must remain intact." Prince Lee Char, visibly perplexed and uncertain of how to proceed, watched as the Mon Calamari parliamentarian stepped forward and addressed Sonori. "Your Excellency, your leadership and capabilities are commendable. I am confident that with your guidance, Prince Lee Char will undoubtedly ascend to be a remarkable king." Sonori, however, responded coolly, "We have witnessed firsthand how the conflict between the Galactic Republic and the Confederation of Independent Systems has spilled over onto our planet. In these perilous times, we must maintain our focus. Therefore, I propose that I assume the role of regent temporarily, relinquishing power once the war concludes." "This is unacceptable. The Quarren will never ascend to the throne of Mon Calamari, not even as a regent." Please note, for the latest updates, visit the official website of the Apex Novel Network. Vol 2, Chapter 1014, Mon Calamari Civil War 2. The Mon Calamari Civil War escalated further when Mina Tiles, the Mon Calamari representative to the Galactic Republic Council, vehemently declared, "It is absolutely impossible for a Quarren to become the king of Mon Calamari, not even as an agent." Her statement, given her significant role as the voice of her planet in the council, sparked immediate outrage among the attendees, particularly the Quarren members of Parliament. Whether they supported Prince Lee Char or not, they were united in their anger, leading to a heated exchange between the Quarren and Mon Calamari representatives. Amidst the chaos, Sonori, observing the dispute with a calm demeanor, addressed the assembly. "At a time when our planet faces a dire threat, why do we still cling to racial prejudices? My only desire is to ensure that Dak does not succumb to the ongoing conflict between the Republic and the Confederation of Independent Systems. Is striving for our planet's survival truly wrong?" Mina Tiles responded, albeit reluctantly, "Your intentions are not misguided, Your Excellency Sonori. As regent, you have our full cooperation." Sonori, however, pressed on, challenging the Assembly's priorities. In times of war, an efficient and streamlined administration is crucial, something the current system fails to provide. If the Galactic Republic can grant Speaker Palpatine emergency powers to face the impending conflict, why can't we set aside our differences for the greater good? Despite Sonori's compelling argument and reputation, Mina Tiles stood her ground, insisting on order. Sonori, growing more forceful, questioned the legality of their actions, and pointedly criticized Prince Lee Char's silence, further inflaming tensions. The situation escalated when Mina Tiles accused the Quarren of murdering King Jos Karina, suggesting their ultimate goal was to seize the throne. Sonori, visibly angered by the baseless accusation, defended himself and the Quarren, emphasizing his long-standing friendship with the late king. He knew the truth behind Joscarina's death, but also knew the Mon Calamari were unaware, making Minatile's direct accusation particularly offensive. The council chamber descended into chaos once more, with the debate seemingly at an impasse. It was then that a delicatus, observing the turmoil, slyly suggested it was time for Reeve Tamson, the hero, to take the stage. With a cold snort, Reeve Tamson stepped forward, pushing Sonori aside. Seizing the microphone, he declared, "I see no sincerity from the Mon Calamari here, only racial discrimination and oppression. The current state of affairs on Dak deeply disappoints us. It's time for the Quarren to fight for their rights." His words rallied the Quarren counselors, who erupted in cheers. Reeve Tamson, with a grin, proclaimed their allegiance to the Confederation of Independent Systems, vowing to fight for freedom and against exploitation. With the Quarren feeling so wronged and discriminated against, he argued there was no reason for them to remain passive any longer. "Here, we must fight for our own status." With those final words, he dropped the microphone, turned, and left the stage. Sonori approached Prince Lichar, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. "I'm sorry that it has come to this, child, but please believe that we are always considering the future of our planet," he said earnestly before departing. "That's right. The fate of the Quarren is in our hands," echoed the other Quarren counselors as they rose and exited the room in solidarity. "Civil war seems inevitable. We must report to Coruscant immediately," Anakin Skywalker remarked, watching the Quarren counselors leave with a grave expression. Padme Amidala, observing the disarray with a sorrowful gaze, nodded in agreement, her sigh long and heavy. The Mon Calamari, sensing the looming threat of civil war, began their preparations for conflict. Captain Jal Akbar, the head of the guard, took immediate action to ensure Prince Lichar's safety, organizing his bodyguards to be vigilant at all times. "War is upon us, Prince. I will do everything within my power to protect you. However, you must remember that you are the cornerstone of our people. Your presence gives us the strength and will to fight. Leave the battle and the enemy to us," Captain Akbar assured him. "I'll do my best, Captain Akbar. I feel responsible for the failure of the negotiations. My performance was lacking," Prince Lichar admitted, his head bowed in disappointment. "It's not your fault, Prince. The Quarren and the Separatists came prepared for this outcome," Akbar consoled him. "That's why you need to prove yourself on the battlefield," a voice interjected. Akbar turned sharply to see Mina Thiers, a representative of the Planetary Council, standing behind them. He frowned. "Mina, Prince Lichar has not yet completed his training. This war does not require him to prove anything." "You understand nothing, Akbar. Focus on your duties. You are merely the prince's bodyguard, ignorant of politics and military strategy. What we need is for Prince Lichar to lead our forces and vanquish the treacherous Quarren. Only then can he demonstrate his capability to rule Mon Calamari as its king," Mina retorted arrogantly. "This is reckless, Your Excellency. Prince Lichar has not even begun his military training. He is unprepared to lead an army." Akbar protested. "You have no say in this matter, Captain Akbar," Mina snapped, emphasizing the word captain disdainfully. "We have already planned everything." "But," Akbar attempted to argue, only to be cut off by Mina. "Enough," she declared dismissively. 4,500 years ago, we nearly drove the Quarren to extinction. Now, of course, we can do it again. Please remember to visit the official website for the latest updates. Vol 2, Chapter 15, Mon Calamari Civil War 4. The Galactic Republic responded swiftly to the crisis on Mon Calamari. Master Windu dispatched Master Kit Fisto with the clone army to reinforce the beleaguered planet. However, a significant challenge faced the Republic. Mon Calamari's proximity to the Confederation of Independent Systems core, particularly the planet Laxus. This geographical reality meant that Mon Calamari was essentially an enclave deep within Separatist territory. The only route available was a precarious hyperspace channel, limiting the reinforcements to a single Acclamator-class assault ship and its clone army contingent. Despite the Acclamator-class ship's capacity for 16,000 soldiers, the need for extensive underwater equipment for operations on Mon Calamari meant it could only transport a legion of over 9,000 troops. This legion, a specialized underwater combat unit known as the Scuba Unit, was under the command of Master Kit Fisto and led by Clone Commander Monk, designated CS-1223. Meanwhile, Anakin Skywalker, having brought Padme Amidala back to the consular-class cruiser he arrived in, instructed the droid, Rock Johnson, to ensure her safety amidst the escalating civil war. Padme, however, resisted, insisting on her ability to aid in stabilizing the parliamentary unrest on Mon Calamari. Ahsoka Tano supported Padme's claim, prompting Anakin to reluctantly agree but urged caution. Rock Johnson, equipped with a set of advanced underwater combat gear, transformed into a veritable miniature submarine, ready to protect Padme. Anakin and his team, donning their diving equipment, plunged into the depths towards Mon Calamari's administrative center. Concurrently, the Quarren initiated the Second Civil War on planet Dak, spurred by Count Dooku and the Confederacy of Independent Systems. Nasser Rai, having risen to prominence with Dooku's support, issued a manifesto denouncing Mon Calamari, Senator Mina Tills, for her allegiance to the Republic, and accused her of conspiring to control Prince Li Char and usurp the throne. On behalf of the Quarren, he demanded the execution of Mina Tills and the abdication of Prince Li Char, a demand outright rejected by the Mon Calamari. The Quarren, bolstered by substantial reinforcements from the Confederacy through Reeve Tamson, launched an assault. Dozens of Trident-class amphibious assault ships, each 88.71 meters in length with a diamond-shaped hull and equipped with 4 flexible mechanical tentacles, descended from the skies into the waters of Dak. These ships, alongside the AQ series battle droids, 2.83 meters tall, heavily armored, and armed with powerful laser cannons and underwater rocket launchers, formed the core of the Quarren's offensive. The Mon Calamari forces, facing such advanced machinery, found themselves at a severe disadvantage. The Quarren's rebellion, fueled by the Confederacy's support, marked a dark turn in the Civil War, threatening not just the political stability of Mon Calamari, but the very future of its people. Suddenly, the Council's disagreement led to an unexpected turn of events. The Mon Calamari, scattered across various cities, found themselves unprepared for the onslaught that followed. The periphery of these cities became battlegrounds where underwater warships from both factions engaged in relentless combat. Unlike the Civil War that took place 4,500 years prior, the Quarren had now harnessed formidable industrial power. Within just 2 days, cities had fallen, the Mon Calamari were forced into retreat, and the fate of planet Dak seemed sealed. Reeve Tamson, an advisor to the Confederation of Independent Galaxies, spearheaded an elite force that penetrated the heart of planet Dak, Deep Coral City, the capital and deepest city on the planet. Reeve Tamson, a Kirkrodon and the finest warrior among his kind, was virtually unstoppable. The Kirkrodons, though few in number, were apex predators in underwater combat, unmatched by any other aquatic intelligent race, much like the Injorus were on land. However, Kirkrodons seldom left the air home planet, and only a select few served under Count Dooku. In the aquatic realm, Reeve Tamson and his personal guard, a mere dozen in number, became the most formidable force beneath the waves. Their swimming speed rivaled that of submarines, and their physical prowess was so overwhelming that they required no weapons. A mere high-speed collision was enough to fatally injure a Mon Calamari warrior. Faced with such a fearsome adversary, the Mon Calamari forces were quickly overwhelmed. AQ-series underwater combat robots, following closely behind, breached the Mon Calamari defenses with ease, bringing destruction into the heart of the city. During this chaos, Prince Li Char of the Mon Calamari stood in the command center, his gaze empty as he witnessed the war's tide turn against them. Reports of breaches and mutinies flooded in, yet he seemed detached from the unfolding disaster. The defense line of Salgavar City has been breached. The Quarren have invaded. They're inside. The underwater battleship Mansa has mutinied. We've lost contact. 331 Battalion. 331 Battalion. If you can hear this, please respond. Report your defensive status immediately. The western exit of Deep Coral City has been compromised. Robots are infiltrating. Surrounded by voices of panic and despair, Princely Char felt as if he was caught in a whirlpool of confusion and helplessness. Despite the chaos around him, one thing became painfully clear. It was all over. Attachment 1 of the Easter Egg Chapter, Standard Equipment of Scuba Troops. Attachment 2 of the Easter Egg Chapter, Trident-class Amphibious Assault Ship. Please remember the first domain name of this book for the fastest updates on the Apex Novel Network mobile version. Volume 2, Chapter 1016, The Mon Calamari Civil War, Part 4. In the midst of the Mon Calamari Civil War, MP Minatiles was found furiously berating the failed military commanders, labeling them as incompetent for abandoning their posts without putting up a fight. Her tirade seemed solely focused on her political agenda, blatantly disregarding the sacrifices of the Mon Calamari soldiers, whose dark blue blood stained the battlefield beneath the sea. It appeared that no one, including Minatiles, truly cared about Prince Lichar, viewing him merely as a pawn in their political games. However, in this moment of despair, a reassuring hand landed on Prince Lichar's shoulder, reigniting a spark of hope within him. It was Jarl Akbar, whose voice boomed with conviction. As long as there's even a sliver of hope, we must persevere. A true king never abandons his people. But I'm at a loss, Prince Lichar admitted, his body trembling with uncertainty. We need to rally the troops. Now, more than ever, they need your leadership and inspiration, Akbar advised. With a heavy nod, Prince Lichar agreed. Let's move to the front lines. It may be perilous, but I will defend you with my life. It's far better than staying here, Akbar declared, guiding Prince Lichar away from the chaos. Where are you taking the prince? Return at once, Minatiles demanded, her voice echoing angrily behind them. Akbar, however, paid her no heed. As the conflict intensified, the city's defenses were breached, allowing Reeve Tamsin and his army of AQ-series underwater combat robots to infiltrate the deep coral city. The invasion wasn't limited to this city alone. Wherever the Quarren and the droid forces of the Confederation of Independent Systems struck, chaos ensued. The Mon Calamari resistance crumbled within days. From the command center, Reeve Tamsin communicated with Nosori, Adra Caddis, and Landon Winalden, who were coordinating from behind the lines. As I've said, with me here, this war will soon end. Mobilize all your forces. Nosori hesitated. We're doing our best, but many Quarren lack combat training. Sending them to fight is akin to sending them to their deaths. You must find a way, Mr. Nosori. This opportunity for victory comes from me. Yet, what have your Quarren contributed? Nothing but shadows in the background, Reeve Tamsin bellowed. But the war is nearly won. Nosori attempted to interject. Deploy your Quarren to the front. I want all Mon Calamaris rounded up into concentration camps, Reeve Tamsin demanded, his voice thunderous. Isn't this excessive? Our goal was merely Prince Lichar's temporary abdication, not genocide. Nosori protested weakly. Reeve Tamsin's menacing visage filled the holographic screen, his fangs nearly piercing through the projection. I will not repeat my order a third time. Adra Caddis, make sure Nosori understands what he must do. With that, the communication was abruptly severed. Nosori was left shaken, unaccustomed to dealing with someone as ruthless as Reeve Tamsin. After a moment, he turned to Adra Caddis. You were right, Miss Adra. Reeve Tamsin's intentions are far from noble. Reeve Tamsin is driven by selfish motives. It's a common trait among those with great martial prowess, Adra Caddis remarked with a sly smile. But for now, he serves a purpose. And if I'm not mistaken, reinforcements from the Republic are on their way. This will only lead to disaster, Nosori lamented, still confused about their ultimate goal. We're setting the stage for you to become the ruler of planet Dak, Landon Winalden revealed. Is this Count Dooku's plan? Nosori inquired. Count Dooku is only interested in the outcome, Winalden replied cryptically. A week prior, Tang Xiao found himself in Count Dooku's residence on the planet Lacasas, questioning the plan to attack planet Dak. The strategy is fraught with gaps, Count Dooku. Perhaps you've only perceived the initial phase of my plan, not the subsequent steps, Count Dooku responded calmly. By keeping planet Dak divided, we can manipulate the situation to our advantage. Tang Xiao mused. The Mon Calamari and the Quarren might seem inherently incompatible, but in reality, I believe the two species are gradually drawing closer. Despite their quarrels and conflicts, they remain interdependent. the Quarren Isolation Alliance is likely to remain a minority. In his view, the relationship between the Mon Calamari and Quarren was beginning to mirror the racial dynamics in the United States, with its historical tensions between black and white communities. They might discriminate against and confront each other, but the idea of forming separate nations was unthinkable. He considered various scenarios of secession within the United States, such as the independence movements in California, Alaska, Texas, etc., but the notion of racial independence was not feasible. Over time, the political, economic, industrial, and social entanglements between the Mon Calamari and Quarren had grown too deep to untangle. Tang Xiao doubted Count Dooku was unaware of this dynamic. He proposed, "Perhaps you're considering a third option. Are you planning to relocate the Kirkradon people to the planet Dak, thereby securing the allegiance of what might be the strongest aquatic race in the galaxy?" Count Dooku gave Tang Xiao a penetrating look and responded ambiguously, "The creativity of non-human races in the Outer Rim territories should not be underestimated. The Geonosians, for example, are numerous, industrious, and relatively simple-minded. The Mon Calamari and Quarren, on the other hand, are too independent-minded." So, this is Darth Sidious's plan, Tang Xiao realized, connecting the dots with events from the original storyline. The Mon Calamari and Quarren, having sided with the Galactic Republic during the war and contributed significantly, should have prospered under the Galactic Empire. However, the reality was starkly different. Darth Sidious viewed these races as mere slaves, exploiting them brutally. This exploitation culminated in a massacre on Dak, which then led the planet to join the Rebel Alliance in opposition to the Galactic Empire. P.S. Upon closer examination, the Confederacy of Independent Systems' initial success in the Mon Calamari Civil War seems almost miraculous, and it's difficult to understand their eventual defeat. The original plot seems to force this outcome to underscore the villainy of the Confederacy and the righteousness of the Galactic Republic. Frankly, this approach feels somewhat naive. Thus, I've offered my own interpretation. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, AQ Series Underwater Combat Robots. Please remember the first domain name of this book, website. For the fastest updates, visit the Apex Novel Network mobile version, website. Vol 2, Chapter 17, Mon Calamari Civil War. Count Dooku's expression shifted dramatically as he addressed Tang Xiao with a grave tone. "I fully grasp the gravity of what you're proposing, Your Excellency Tang Xiao. However, you must understand the perilous nature of such an endeavor, and it's only because we share a common humanity that I would even consider it." Tang Xiao's brow furrowed in thought. Count Dooku continued, his voice deep and serious. "Do you truly believe that a government comprised of multiple species can thrive? It's a fallacy. True equality among different races is a myth, including for your planet Dawn and its allied species. You may think you're offering them unparalleled equality, but in reality, it's the greatest form of inequality." He paused before adding, "because the equality they enjoy is bestowed upon them by you." Count Dooku then shared his perspective. "If you, like me, aspire to wield significant power, then racial diversity is a hindrance to achieving that power." After a moment of contemplation, Tang Xiao responded, "I concede that this issue does exist. Yet, we're faced with a dilemma, and my choice is to embrace the complexity. The Calamari and Quarren possess a robust industrial system and unparalleled shipbuilding expertise. The shipbuilding industry of the Dark Planet is renowned as the finest in the entire Outer Rim, and even surpasses most of the Mid-Rim. This is their value, and I've made a tactical decision to let the Kolkrodans govern them, fully leveraging Dak Planet's potential in this war, before discarding them to avoid future complications." Count Dooku's expression turned icy. Such a plan is doomed to fail. The Kolkrodans will only exacerbate the situation. Tang Xiao confidently replied, "Then, Your Excellency, proceed as you see fit. I only seek a successful outcome." Count Dooku stroked his snow-white beard, pondering. Tang Xiao, with a mysterious smile, suddenly said, "But Count Dooku, there's something you've overlooked." Count Dooku looked up in surprise, only to see Tang Xiao's departing figure. His expression was a mix of confusion and contemplation. "A single spark can start a prairie fire," a phrase Darth Marthael once mentioned. How did Tang Xiao come to know of it? In the capital of Mon Calamari, Deep Coral City, Kit Fisto led the Galactic Republic's scuba corps into the fray, diving headfirst into a fierce battle against the underwater droid army commanded by Reeve Tamsin. However, their arrival was belated. The droid army had already infiltrated Deep Coral City, plunging the entire city into chaos. The Mon Calamari command center and government buildings were in ruins, with officials either dead or in flight. The decision was made to divide their forces. Anakin Skywalker and Rock Johnson set out to locate Prince Lee Char, while Padme Amidala and Ahsoka Tano went in search of Senator Mina Tills. Kit Fisto, leading the clone army, continued to fend off the droid invaders. But the situation was dire. The sheer number of droids flooding into Deep Coral City made it nearly impossible to regain control. Despite Kit Fisto's valiant efforts, they could only manage to defend a small area. Underwater combat posed unique challenges. Even though the clone scuba troops were equipped with advanced underwater gear including turbo-propelled backpacks, DC-12U underwater blasters, ultralight armor, seawater electrolysis devices, and semi-automatic fins, they were fundamentally land-dwelling beings. The equipment compensated for their limitations underwater, but didn't give them an advantage. Thankfully, Anakin Skywalker succeeded in finding Prince Lee Char. Under the leadership of Captain Jar Akbar, the prince personally led the resistance, significantly boosting the morale of the Mon Calamari soldiers. This renewed vigor allowed them to hold off the droids long enough for the command center to initiate evacuation procedures. Their defense, though desperate, provided a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos. Exhausted yet determined, Captain Akbar managed to escort Prince Lee Char into hiding, awaiting Anakin Skywalker's arrival. Throughout this ordeal, Akbar's wisdom and courage shone brightly. Meanwhile, Padme Amidala successfully reunited with Senator Mina Tills, and together they joined forces with Kit Fisto's army. This alliance preserved the political heart of Mon Calamari, offering a glimmer of hope to the beleaguered planet. However, Reeve Tamsin, the separatist commander, had come well prepared. Upon realizing that the clone army was putting up a fierce resistance, he unleashed another ace up his sleeve. 2 disobedient-class light destroyers, previously stationed in orbit, descended into the planet's atmosphere. Their cargo bays opened, releasing numerous spherical objects that resembled large balls of cloth, each about 4 to 5 meters in diameter. Upon contact with the seawater, these objects rapidly unfurled into gigantic jellyfish, each spanning over 22 meters in diameter. Despite their slow movement, the jellyfish inexorably advanced towards the Republic's positions. The Republic's underwater troops immediately engaged, only to discover that their weapons were ineffective. What kind of jellyfish are these? Why aren't they affected by blasters? Clone Commander Munch exclaimed in disbelief. Anakin Skywalker, using the Force to analyze the situation, quickly deduced the nature of these creatures. These aren't ordinary jellyfish. Their entire bodies act as massive energy circuits. When hit by our blasters, the energy is simply conducted and dispersed into the surrounding water. Despite this revelation, the Republic forces found themselves powerless against the jellyfish. The creatures, with their tentacles stretching over 40 meters and carrying lethal high-voltage electricity, decimated the clone and Mon Calamari soldiers. The once solid line of defense crumbled under the onslaught. Kit Fisto, witnessing the devastation, approached Anakin with a heavy heart. "We no longer possess the means to halt the separatist invasion," he lamented. Mina Tills, refusing to accept defeat, passionately retorted, "No, we cannot simply surrender. This is our planet, our home. We must not let it fall into the hands of those separatists and their vile schemes. To do so would be a disgrace to the Galactic Republic." Please note, for the latest updates, visit the official website of the Apex Novel Network. Vol 2, Chapter 118, The Mon Calamari Civil War, Part 6. After a moment of contemplation, Padme Amidala said, "Our only option now is to seize the opportunity to leave this planet and return to Coruscant. Mina, you and Prince Lee Char can form a government in exile there." "Like Orn Frita, the senator of planet Renos?" Mina Tills asked with a hint of disdain. "Exactly, just like Orn Frita. I'm sorry." Padme sighed deeply. "Let's go then." Mina Tills finally conceded. The clone scuba troops quickly turned around and made their way towards the surface. The jellyfish-like creatures, hindered by their slow movement, were left behind, allowing the group to return to their Cheer-class assault landing ship. Despite Reeve Tamsin's orders for 2 disobedient-class light destroyers to intercept them, they were no match for the robust Cheer-class ship, which made its escape unscathed. Upon their return to Coruscant, Speaker Schiff Palpatine immediately convened an emergency meeting with the Supreme Strategic Command of the Republic and Master Windu. The dire situation of the civil war on Mon Calamari and the Separatists' reinforcements were laid bare, causing concern among the attendees. It's clear that the Separatists were able to deploy hundreds of thousands of underwater droids in such a short time because the Quarren had been planning this for a while, Master Windu observed. The Galactic Republic must send reinforcements to save my planet, Mina Thiers implored. Don't worry, Senator Thiers. That's precisely what we're discussing, Palpatine assured her with a smile. Perhaps we need to deploy more clone armies, Anakin Skywalker suggested, and possibly more underwater combat equipment, though it's too late to train additional clone troopers for underwater combat, Master Windu added. Master Yoda, joining the meeting remotely, tapped his head and said, Think, awaken your memories. Before you stands a brave and skilled aquatic race. Padme Amidala's eyes lit up as she exclaimed, Of course, the Gungans of Naboo, they're an aquatic race, and their plasma ore-derived Buma possesses significant underwater capabilities. That's an excellent suggestion, Senator Amidala, Palpatine said, smiling. However, convincing the Gungans to leave their planet to fight won't be easy. I'll take care of it. I will convince the Gungans myself, Padme declared. Besides the Gungans, we can't deploy more troops. Mon Calamari's location is perilous, and we can only send small-scale warships, Master Windu explained. Mina Thiers then said, I will stay in Coruscant and establish a provisional government. For now, I won't return to Mon Calamari. Prince Lichar, you should stay with me. However, Prince Lichar firmly responded, No, I must go back. My people need me. The planet Mon Calamari has likely fallen by now, Mina Thiers said, clearly displeased with Prince Lichar's defiance. Do you wish to return only to die? If that's the case, then my desire to return is even stronger. My people need me, Prince Lichar declared, his courage unwavering. No matter what decision you make, I will do everything in my power to ensure your safety, Your Royal Highness, Captain Jar Akbar assured him. You have no right to speak here. Mina Thiers snapped. This is my duty, Captain Akbar retorted firmly. That settles it. I'll go with Jar Jar Binks to the Gungans on the planet Naboo, Padme Amidala resolved. As they had predicted, following the withdrawal of the Republic's forces and the flight of the planet's leadership, the morale of Mon Calamari's soldiers plummeted, leading to the collapse of their resistance. The capital city of Deep Coral was the first to fall, with other cities soon following. Within 3 days, Reeve Tamsin had seized control of over half of Mon Calamari's cities. Round up all the Mon Calamaris and place them in a concentration camp. Leave none behind, Reeve Tamsin ordered. Reeve Tamsin issued a loud command, his voice filled with triumph. The AQ series of underwater combat robo, Tess escorted hordes of Mon Calamaris, herding them into designated concentration camps as prisoners. Our progress is far too slow. In the past day, we've only managed to occupy 1 city. At this rate, it will take us at least half a year to conquer the entire planet. This is unacceptable. Reeve Tamsin suddenly turned, his voice booming as he addressed Nosori, the leader of the Quarren, known for his brutal and moody demeanor. The sight of 2 rows of large fangs in front of Nosori made him tremble with fear. What are you Quarren doing? My droids are limited in number. You need to mobilize, advance to the front lines, and capture the city for me. Seize all the Mon Calamaris, Reeve Tamsin demanded. The war is over. We have emerged victorious. There's no need for further bloodshed. Nosori finally found his courage and retorted loudly. It's time to negotiate for Prince Lichar to temporarily step down. I shall serve as the regent of the planet, and with that, the matter will be resolved. I will join the Confederation of Independent Systems, as agreed. Reeve Tamsin laughed heartily, as if he had just heard the funniest joke. Prince Regent? What nonsense are you spouting? A king is a king. There's no such thing as a regent. And the one who should be crowned and enthroned is me, Reeve Tamsin, as the new king. Nosori, usually so eloquent, found himself at a loss for words, his anger rendering him speechless. Without my intervention, you, Quarren, would remain mere slaves to the Mon Calamari. Do you really believe you could have won this civil war without my help? Ha! Without me, you would end up just like you were thousands of years ago, extinct like the calamari. Reeve Tamsin boasted arrogantly, grabbing the tentacles on Nosori's chin. No, we are no longer living in those barbaric times. The dispute between the Quarren and the Mon Calamari should be settled at the negotiating table, once and for all. Nosori exclaimed, struggling in pain. You can't win anything at the negotiating table, but on the battlefield, victory is yours for the taking. Reeve Tamsin's face contorted into something hideous. I'll give you one last chance. Send all your Quarren to the front lines. Go attack the Mon Calamari. Bring them back to the camp, one by one. No, it's impossible, Nosori protested, still resisting. Then you might as well join them in the concentration camp. Ha-ha! Reeve Tamsin threw Nosori against the wall and turned to address Edracatus and Langdon Winelden coldly. Get moving. Don't think this situation can be resolved with mere political maneuvers in Parliament. Adelicatus maintained her charming smile, but a flash of golden light, filled with murderous intent, briefly passed through her eyes. Please remember to visit the original site for this book for the fastest updates. Volume 2, Chapter 19, The Mon Calamari Civil War, Part 7. Reeve Tamsin, having become overly confident, wielded the AQ series of underwater combat robots, the most formidable military force on the planet. The resistance of the Mon Calamari had been crushed, and the Quarren had succumbed to his leadership. It was clear that he had the entire planet of Dak under his control. His next move was to relocate the Colcrodons, securing this resource-rich planet for them, and in doing so, establishing himself as the supreme ruler. His ambitions didn't stop there. He aimed to join the Confederation Council of the Independent Galaxy as the governor. Given Dak's highly developed industrial system, he knew the significance of such planets within the Confederation of Independent Systems. He envisioned himself skyrocketing to the top, becoming the most influential figure in the galaxy. Reeve Tamsin was cunning. He knew that to consolidate his power, he needed to unite the Quarren against a common enemy, the Mon Calamari. By convincing the Quarren that he was their only hope against the Mon Calamari in the Galactic Republic, he solidified his position. However, his hubris led him to underestimate the challenges ahead. He began by arresting Mon Calamaris en masse, converting several cities into prisons and declaring them slaves. This brutal approach instilled fear among the Mon Calamari and even the Quarren, spreading a chilling atmosphere of terror across the planet. To truly secure his rule over Dak, Reeve Tamsin knew he had to eliminate the rightful heir to the throne, Prince Lee Char. He issued planet-wide wanted notices for the prince and sought to ingratiate himself with his patron, Count Dooku, by declaring Dak's allegiance to the Confederation of Independent Systems and waging war on the Galactic Republic. Despite his efforts, the Mon Calamari fiercely defended their remaining cities, knowing that defeat meant a fate worse than death. Reeve Tamsin encountered unexpected resistance. The Mon Calamari cities, built on the sea with sealed structures resembling massive spaceships, neutralized the underwater advantage of his forces. The AQ series robots, designed for underwater combat, were less effective in these conditions compared to the B-2 supercombat robots suited for land. Even the Medusas he brought from Kolkars were ineffective in the mixed terrain of these battles. Frustrated by the strong defensive capabilities of these surface cities, Reeve Tamsin could do nothing but lay siege, unable to penetrate their defenses. In a fit of rage, he ordered the Quarren into battle, executing those who tried to flee to force compliance. Despite heavy losses, the Quarren managed to capture several Mon Calamari cities on the sea. Buoyed by this victory, Reeve Tamsin once again sought Count Dooku's assistance. Count Dooku responded generously, sending a Shenyi-class destroyer to bolster their forces. The Shenyi-class destroyer, now modified to house a transport bay brimming with hundreds of Trident-class amphibious assault ships, was part of a critical mission. Anakin Skywalker, Rock Johnson, and Jarl Akbar were tasked with protecting Prince Lee Char as they made their daring return to the planet Mon Calamari. Opting for a stealthy approach, they boarded a console-class cruiser and dove directly into the ocean depths. Prepared with underwater gear, they swiftly opened the hatch, abandoned the cruiser, and made their escape. Meanwhile, Reeve Tamson, anticipating reinforcements, received a fleeting sensor signal. Although it vanished before he could investigate further, it was enough to put him on high alert. He immediately readied his droid army for combat and initiated a thorough search of the surrounding area. Prince Lee Char, in a bold move, infiltrated a concentration camp city only to discover it filled with despondent Mon Calamari prisoners, their spirits broken and their will to resist nearly extinguished. In an effort to rekindle hope among his people, Prince Lee Char sounded a horn known to emit a special sound wave, ni, that only Mon Calamari could hear. The horn's call was not just a signal of resistance, but a declaration of unwavering determination to fight to the end, a sentiment that resonated with every imprisoned Mon Calamari. Reeve Tamson, upon hearing the horn, immediately mobilized his forces to hunt down Prince Lee Char. At this critical juncture, 2 Cheer-class assault landing ships, escorted by a Chaser-class battlecruiser, arrived at Mon Calamari. Master Kit Fisto led the clone Scuba underwater combat force, bolstered this time by over 30,000 Gungan warriors. The soldiers leaped from their battleships into the sea, ready to confront a coalition of Quarren and AQ-series underwater combat droids. The Quarren, already demoralized, offered little resistance against the Republic's counterattack. However, the droid army of the Confederation of Independent Systems, protected by Medusa cyborg jellyfish, presented a formidable challenge. It was in this underwater battlefield that the Gungans showcased their remarkable combat prowess. Agile and swift, they navigated the waters with ease, outmaneuvering even the AQ-series droids. With the Gungans' support, the Republic's clone Scuba Force found itself evenly matched against the droid army for the first time. Yet, they were still outnumbered. Following Captain Jar Akbar's advice, they began a strategic retreat towards the prison cities, aiming to liberate the captive Mon Calamari. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, Medusa Cyborg. Please remember the first domain name of this book for the fastest updates. Website. Volume 2, Chapter 1020. The End of the Mon Calamari Civil War. The plasma mines of Naboo, primarily located underwater, were a resource predominantly mastered by the Gungans. Utilizing the plasma ore, they crafted a unique weapon known as the Booma. This weapon, made from plasma ore, could generate natural electromagnetic pulses. The small blue orb was capable of destroying a robot instantly, and even the seemingly invincible Medusa cyborg jellyfish suffered damage upon impact. When the Gungan warriors arrived to support the planet of Mon Calamari, they were equipped with a simplistic yet highly effective jet device. This device allowed them to launch Booma at high speeds underwater, proving to be the perfect countermeasure against the Confederate droid army in the aquatic environment. While the Mon Calamari and Quarren might have been able to evade the Booma, the AQ underwater combat robots lacked the capability to dodge. Moreover, the Booma proved to be exceptionally effective against the Medusa cyborg jellyfish, which had previously been immune to blaster rifle fire. These jellyfish, essentially energy transmission channels, were rendered completely non-functional after a Booma attack. The Quarren, having lost their will to fight, fled at the sight of the Republic forces' return. The combined forces of the Gungans and clones emerged victorious, breaking through the robot army's first line of defense and advancing towards the concentration camp city. However, Reeve Tamson had anticipated such a counterattack. Under his command, hundreds of Trident-class amphibious assault ships, recently reinforced, swiftly approached the seafloor beneath the Allied clone and Gungan forces. The ships' powerful engines activated the 4 long tentacles, which began to spin at high velocity, creating a massive vortex. This vortex dispersed the coalition forces, allowing a large number of AQ-series underwater combat robots to launch an attack. The heavy underwater combat robots, less affected by the vortex, maintained their positions and advanced as the Republic scuba soldiers and Gungans struggled to regroup. Kit Fisto led an assault squad against the Trident-class amphibious assault ships creating the vortex, but their efforts met with limited success. After destroying only a few Tridents, they were forced to retreat, leaving many ships still operational. In the midst of this chaos, Reeve Tamsin located Prince Lee Char and began pursuing him with his personal guard. Anakin Skywalker, Ahsoka Tano, and Jal Akbar fought valiantly, but Reeve Tamsin's combat prowess, even underwater, proved to be a match for the Jedi Knights. Unable to halt his advance, they allowed Akbar to flee with Prince Lee Char, with Anakin staying behind to confront Tamsin. In a desperate bid, Anakin unleashed his full power, managing to delay Reeve Tamsin and buy Akbar enough time to escape. However, upon reaching the rendezvous point, Anakin was met with a horrifying scene. Ahsoka Tano lay severely injured in the arms of Rock Johnson, while Jal Akbar was locked in a desperate confrontation with Adela Cottis. Wearing specialized underwater equipment designed for Twi'leks, Adela's scarlet lightsaber cast a sinister glow on the surrounding waters. In her other hand, she held Prince Lee Char captive. "Ha, Tian Xingzi, it seems you've failed," Adela Cottis laughed maniacally. "Release the prince," Captain Akbar demanded. "And what if I refuse? What can you possibly do to me?" Adela taunted. "You will regret this. The entire Mon Calamari planet will not stand for this treachery," Akbar retorted, his voice echoing with determination and the promise of retribution. The battle for Mon Calamari had reached its climax, with the fate of the planet hanging in the balance. Captain Akbar clenched his teeth with frustration. "Calamari will regard you as the enemy for life," he warned. "Oh, I'm trembling with fear," Idra Caddis mocked with heavy sarcasm. "Just remember, in a day's time, Prince Lee Charl will face public execution. Make sure I live to regret it." With O's final words, she swiftly grabbed Prince Lichar and darted towards the rear, her speed unmatched. Meanwhile, a squadron of AQ underwater combat robots surged forward, obstructing Anakin's path. By the time they managed to eliminate all the robots, Idra Cottis would be long gone. Ahsoka Tano, weakened and disheartened, apologized to Anakin. "I'm sorry, Tianxingzi. I failed." Anakin quickly reassured her. "Don't blame yourself. You need to focus on your recovery." He then turned to Captain Akbar, who was visibly anxious. "We must rescue Prince Lee Char. The fate of the entire planet hangs in the balance." Anakin simply nodded, his expression grave. In a dramatic turn of events, Idra Cottis boldly presented Prince Lee Char to Reeve Tamsin, taunting him with a smirk. "See, what you couldn't achieve, I've accomplished." Reeve Tamsin, unimpressed, retorted disdainfully, "This merely proves you have some use after all." He then addressed Nosori, promising him a significant role in his impending rule. "Everything is set for tomorrow's grand ceremony, where we will execute Prince Lee Char and I will ascend as king," he declared, unable to contain his laughter. Nosori remained silent, bowing his head. The following day, Reeve Tamsin orchestrated a lavish ceremony at the heart of Deep Coral Plaza, compelling all residents to witness the event, which was also broadcast planet-wide. Despite the Galactic Republic's efforts, their progress was slow, and they struggled to pose a significant threat to the deep-sea stronghold. Dressed ceremoniously, Reeve Tamsin stood on a raised platform, overseeing the procession as Prince Lee Charl was brought forth by two formidable Cole Crawdon warriors. The sight elicited laughter from the Quarren residents. "Today marks a new dawn for the planet of Dak," Reeve Tamsin proclaimed, addressing the crowd. "The age-old conflict between the Mon Calamari and the Quarren ends now. The rulers of Dak are clear. It's us, the Cole Crawdons." His laughter echoed as he boasted about his race's superiority and declared both the Mon Calamari and Quarren as his slaves under his reign. As he was about to sanction the execution of Prince Lee Char, a sudden, sharp pain interrupted him. Reeve Tamsin looked down in shock to find a slender blue hand piercing through his chest, a dramatic twist that left the audience in stunned silence. Please note, for the latest updates, remember to visit the official website. Vol 2 Chapter 121, Who is the Traitor? Reeve Tamsin was in shock. He couldn't believe that Idra Cottis would betray him at the very brink of his triumph. "You! How dare you! You dare betray Count Dooku!" Reeve Tamsin coughed up a mouthful of blue blood, his teeth bared in a ferocious roar. Despite the resilience granted by his Cole Crawdon heritage, the injury, while not fatal, had effectively incapacitated him. "Who do you think I am? A mere follower of Count Dooku? Like Ventress?" Idra Caddis's laugh was chilling, her smile sinister. "Perhaps it's time I revealed my true identity. Darth Lilim. I will kill you." Reeve Tamson, fueled by rage and the last of his strength, managed to break free from Idra's grasp, only to be immediately hit by a powerful force that sent him flying to the center of the square. The events unfolded so swiftly that the two Kol Krodan executioners were left bewildered, their giant axes seemingly seized by an unseen force, rendering them immobile. The other Kol Krodan guards sprang into action, attempting a rescue, but were instantly thwarted by a spectral force that materialized from nowhere. This force, both swift and precise, outmatched even the agility of the Kol Krodans in water. The assailants, with their exceptional marksmanship, concluded the skirmish within moments. Each of the Kurkradon guards met their end, either with a slit throat or a bullet to the forehead, leaving no survivors. Only then did the onlookers manage to get a clear view of the attackers. Dressed in black, full-coverage combat suits, with large eyes and forked tentacles adorning their heads, they were identified as Solarians, the Solarian Special Forces, who had never departed from the Dark Planet. As an amphibious race, the Solarians were just as adept in underwater combat as any other. With the situation under control, Adra Caddis, now floating in the sea above the square, seized the loudspeaker and announced, "Reeve Tamson of Kol Krodan has betrayed Count Dooku, violated the principles and policies of the Confederation of Independent Systems, and unlawfully intervened in the internal affairs of Planet Dak with armed force. He is hereby stripped of his title as Special Envoy of the Confederation of Independent Systems and—" She paused, her gaze coldly settling on Reeve Tamson, who had just managed to stand, executed immediately. "You're the traitor. You've betrayed Count Dooku. This was never our plan." Reeve Tamson, struggling to his feet, shouted in defiance. Adra Caddis, moving with the grace of a water snake, swam up to Reeve Tamson, her smile mocking. "I told you, Count Dooku is only interested in the outcome." With a flick of her wrist, the two Kurkradon executioners, previously immobilized by her force, now lay dead, their necks twisted in an unnatural angle. "No, this is treachery, betrayal. Robot soldiers attack! Kill them all!" Reeve Tamson bellowed in desperation. However, all the AQ underwater combat robots present remained still, as if oblivious to the unfolding drama. It was at this moment that Reeve Tamson felt the crushing weight of abandonment, realizing he was the one truly forsaken. The entire populace of Planet Dak, including Anakin Skywalker and others lurking in the shadows, watched in stunned silence as the situation took an unforeseen turn. Nosori, the leader of the Quarren, approached with a newfound confidence, no longer intimidated by the once feared Reeve Tamson. "The Kurkrodans sought to incite civil unrest on our planet Dak, seizing it for themselves. This we cannot allow. We fight for the rights of the Dark Planet, independent of any outside interference." Turning to face the crowd, Nosori declared, "I now call upon the Galactic Republic and the Confederation to recognize our struggle and support our cause." The atmosphere was electric as Nosori's declaration resonated through the crowd. "We demand the Confederation of Independent Systems leave our planet. We will handle the affairs of Planet Dak by ourselves." The surrounding Quarren, fueled by a newfound fervor, echoed the sentiment, chanting, "Get out of Dak Planet! Get out of Dak Planet!" Yet the irony was palpable. Despite their fervent cries, they seemed to overlook the AQ series of underwater combat robots of the Confederation of Independent Galaxies, standing motionless beside them. Their chants were, in truth, directed at the Galactic Republic. In a sudden burst of aggression, Reeve Tamson lunged forward, his jaws wide open, aiming for Nosori's neck. However, in a swift motion, a blood-red swordlight flashed, severing Tamson's head from his body. His head drifted away with the ocean current, slowly disappearing into the distance. Nosori, undeterred, continued to rally his people. "We don't want a civil war. We seek a peaceful resolution. But Congressman Mina Tierce's words have crossed a line. She must be held accountable for this civil war. Expel her!" The Quarren crowd took up the chant once more. Nosori then approached Prince Lee Char, who appeared disheartened on the ocean floor. With a gentle gesture, he helped the prince to his feet and led him to a higher vantage point. "I'm sorry, Your Royal Highness. In this unnecessary civil war, you've not demonstrated the wisdom and strength expected of a king. You need further guidance." Prince Lee Char, surrounded by Quarren and the ominous presence of separatist underwater combat robots, felt a profound sense of isolation and fear. I am willing to step down, he murmured. No, please don't make that decision, Nosori interjected, his voice firm yet reassuring. We have ample time to discuss this after I've addressed the issues with the Confederacy of Independent Systems and the Galactic Republic. Turning to face Artanis, Nosori boldly demanded, Please, withdraw your troops immediately. His audacious request, made in the midst of countless underwater combat robots, elevated Nosori's stature among the people of planet Dak. His courage and decisiveness starkly contrasted with Prince Li Char's earlier vulnerability. The Confederation of Independent Systems respects the will of planet Dak. We will withdraw our troops immediately, Artanis responded, her expression a mix of amusement and respect. As for the Republic troops still floundering in the shallows, we will assist in their removal. This moment marked a pivotal turn in the struggle for planet Dak, showcasing the power of unity and the strength of a determined leader in the face of adversity. Vol 2, Chapter 122, Victory or Defeat. This is clearly a coup, Anakin Skywalker whispered furiously, concealed in the shadows. Beside him, Ahsoka Tano was equally perplexed, murmuring, Tianxingzi, I'm unsure of our stance. What exactly is happening? Meanwhile, Jarl Akbar had already made a bold move, dashing from his hiding spot. He paid no heed to the myriad of underwater combat robots surrounding him, nor the hostile glares from the Quarren. With determination, he approached Li Char, wresting him from Nosori's grasp and positioning himself protectively in front of the prince. His gaze was fierce as he confronted Nosori and Artanis. However, Artanis remained unmoved, her voice icy as she commanded, Tell your Republic friends to leave. With that, she turned and swam away from the city, followed by the AQ series underwater combat robots. The war has ended, Captain Jar Akbar. Consider the future of our planet, Dak, Nosori stated calmly. What should we do now? In a secluded corner, Rock Johnson turned to Anakin with the question. Separatism. What in the world is happening? Anakin clenched his teeth in frustration. We must inform the Jedi Order about the situation here. But, did we win or lose? Ahsoka Tano posed a seemingly simple question that left Anakin momentarily speechless. Shaking his head, he chose not to answer, instead weaving through the robots to rejoin his forces. The planet Mon Calamari, previously in turmoil, experienced an eerie cessation of hostilities. The forces of the Confederation of Independent Systems and the Galactic Republic withdrew from the battlefield, maintaining a standoff across the sea. All captured Mon Calamaris were freed from the concentration camp cities, which were no longer guarded or used for imprisonment. Mon Calamari convened a planetary council once more, this time without the presence of special envoys from either the Confederation of Independent Systems or the Galactic Republic. Only Mon Calamari and Quarren members were present to deliberate. However, the Mon Calamari, still reeling from their recent defeat in the Civil War, were disheartened. Prince Li Char appeared particularly dejected, with only Captain Jar Akbar standing resolutely behind him as his unwavering support. Nosori set the tone for the council before it even began. He started by declaring the expulsion of Senator Mina Thiers, refusing to acknowledge her identity or the government she had established in Coruscant. He then announced his intention to run for the role of acting king of Dak, outlining his policy commitments to the parliament. 1. He pledged to ensure the withdrawal of both the Confederation of Independent Systems and the Galactic Republic's troops from the planet, promising no further interference in Dak's internal affairs. 2. He vowed to bring peace to Dak, declaring its neutrality in the ongoing galactic civil war. 3. Nosori committed to the industrial and economic development of Dak, ensuring that no foreign entities would interfere in its internal matters. 4. He aimed to eradicate the discrimination between the Mon Calamari and the Quarren, promoting the integration of the two species. 5. The restoration of the planet's name to Dak, acknowledging its history as the planet of Mon Calamari, was a priority. 6. Lastly, he promised to abdicate in favor of Prince Li Char immediately after the Galactic Civil War concluded, vowing never to seek kingship again. Such a policy program was irresistible to the Mon Calamari. Prince Li Char's performance during the Civil War had failed to inspire confidence among the planet's inhabitants, including the Mon Calamari themselves. Ultimately, Prince Li Char accepted Nosori's proposal, agreeing to temporarily step down to continue his education and training as the Prince of Dak, with Nosori assuming leadership in the interim. Serving as the acting king of the Dak planet, now known by its historical name, Mon Calamari, was a role that had become a distant memory. For the now homeless Congresswoman Mina Tiles, who found herself far away in Coruscant, the news was a devastating shock. Unwilling to accept her expulsion, she leveraged the previous government in exile on Coruscant to establish an independent organization for the Mon Calamari. This organization opposed the policies of the Nosori government on Dak. However, due to the long-standing precedent set by the Quarren people, specifically Tix's Quarren Isolation Alliance, Mina Tiles' organization was also labeled the Mon Calamari Isolation Alliance and was regarded as an extremist group. They were no longer recognized as legitimate representatives of their planet. Meanwhile, Anakin Skywalker and his companions had returned to the Republic battleship orbiting Dak and had made contact with Coruscant. They struggled to articulate the outcome of the battle. It was neither a loss nor a clear victory. The Separatist forces had been driven from Dak, but the victory felt hollow, both militarily and politically, leaving them in a state of despair. After discussions with the Jedi Order and the Supreme Strategic Command of the Republic, Master Windu ordered a withdrawal. "I still can't understand this battle," Anakin said, his head bowed in confusion. "Mon Calamari planet, we lost," Master Yoda declared solemnly, shaking his head. "Conspiracy, separatist." Anakin remained silent, unable to find the words to respond. As the meeting concluded and the communications were severed, only Chancellor Palpatine remained connected. He spoke to Anakin in a comforting tone. "Master Yoda is not blaming you, Anakin. You remain the best Jedi Knight, and the defeat on Mon Calamari is not your fault." Despite his comforting words, Palpatine's tone suggested he was subtly affirming Master Yoda's implied criticism. The planet of Mon Calamari, despite its claims of neutrality, had rulers who were separatist-friendly. "That's the real failure," Anakin sighed. Palpatine continued, his voice taking on a persuasive quality. "We are in an age of war, Anakin. The reason is that we are still adhering to the values of a time of peace, which is a mistake. While I cannot deny the failure, you must question whether it truly lies on your shoulders. Reflect on the battle's progression. You fought valiantly and overcame a numerically superior enemy. You achieved the impossible on the battlefield. You are still the same person. Now, consider again, where do the real failures lie?" Palpatine smiled reassuringly. "So, take it easy. It's not your fault." Anakin pondered deeply, his fists clenched. "I should have been able to save more people. That's precisely why, in my eyes, you are the best Jedi, Anakin. It's not about strength, it's about your heart. As I've said, don't let the values of peacetime constrain you. They only serve to weaken you," Palpatine advised. I will try my best," Anakin nodded, a resolve forming within him. Vol 2, Chapter 123, Waiting for Development. Nosori, the Quarren leader, emerged as the most prominent figure in the sudden and swiftly concluded civil war. His audacity in rebuking the envoys from both the Galactic Republic and the Confederation of Independent Systems at the Planetary Council, insisting they refrain from meddling in the planet's internal affairs, was unparalleled. Following the outbreak of civil war, with both factions seeking external support, Nosori leveraged his significant political influence and connections to convince both the Galactic Republic and the Confederation of Independent Systems to stand down, a feat unmatched across the galaxy. However, a closer examination of the civil war on planet Dak raises several questions, with the most puzzling being the cause of the conflict itself. Despite the efforts of Nosori and the Quarren, the shadow of initiating the civil war looms over them. Yet, the cunning Nosori devised a strategy to navigate this predicament. He claimed the Quarren were drawn into the civil war because he uncovered a plot by Mina Thiers. Thiers allegedly conspired with the Galactic Republic to manipulate Prince Lee Char, aiming to oust the Quarren and provoke an attack by the Confederation of Independent Systems. To prevent a clash on planet Dak, Nosori felt compelled to wage war, not against the Mon Calamari, but to apprehend Mina Thiers. Members of Prince Lee Char's personal guard corroborated this narrative, testifying that Thiers indeed had a confrontation with the guard captain, Jal Akbar, over the prince's involvement in the conflict, which inevitably deepened the crisis. Acknowledging this, Jal Akbar had no choice but to confirm the account. Thus, the narrative of the Civil War was reframed. Mina Thiers, by colluding with the Republic to control Princely Char and inviting the Confederation's aggression, was the instigator. Nosori's initiation of the Civil War was portrayed as a reluctant but necessary action to rectify Thiers' betrayal. However, it was already too late. Thiers used Princely Char as a shield, taking refuge in Deep Coral City, a location beyond the Quarren's reach. This allowed Reeve Tamsin to exploit the situation, and his ambitions led the conflict to spiral out of control, resulting in significant casualties. In the aftermath, if blame were to be assigned, Mina Thiers would be deemed the primary antagonist, with Reeve Tamsin, who sought to usurp control of planet Dak, as a close second. Nosori, on the other hand, could at most be accused of a momentary lapse in judgment. Adra Caddis, the special envoy from the Confederation of Independent Systems, timely identified Reeve Tamsin's treachery, regained command of the droid army, and publicly executed Reeve Tamsin. The Galactic Republic, for its part, in collaborating with Mina Thiers to destabilize Planet Dak's regime, inciting strife between the Quarren and the Mon Calamari, and even allowing Thiers to establish a pseudo-government in exile, faced stern condemnation. Thus, regardless of the Galactic Republic's attempts at propaganda, within Planet Dak, the narrative of the war was firmly established. Mina Thiers, caught off guard by these developments, was left aghast as she watched herself being vilified as a traitor and the principal war criminal, a stark and unbearable contrast to her previous standing. In truth, Thiers had no intention of controlling Princely Char. She was concerned about his youth and inexperience, believing he was not yet ready for leadership. Mina Thiels had initially planned to personally teach him how to handle things, but she hadn't anticipated becoming a target of Nosori's attack. Then, an even more ironic situation unfolded. Nosori issued a special mission to the Galactic Republic Parliament, demanding that Mina Thiels be replaced as a representative of the Planetary Councilor. They called for a thorough investigation into her alleged intentions to provoke a civil war and requested her extradition to the planet Dark. Despite Nosori not joining the Confederacy of Independent Systems, they still claimed membership in the Galactic Republic, albeit maintaining a stance of neutrality in the ongoing war. This maneuver placed Speaker Schiff Palpatine of the Galactic Republic in a difficult position. It was common knowledge that the planet Dak was on the brink of separatism, yet as long as this fact remained unacknowledged, they were technically still part of the Galactic Republic. According to the law, the Galactic Republic was obligated to consider Nosori's request. Accepting Nosori's delegation into the Parliament was a reluctant move, especially knowing their intent to stir trouble. The irony was that Mina Thiels was known for her loyalty to the Galactic Republic, yet now, by the very laws of the Republic, she was to be extradited to Dak Planet. Politics often revealed itself to be both amusing and shameless. To survive in the political arena, filled with intrigue and manipulation, one could not afford to possess even a shred of shame. Thus, while publicly agreeing to Nosori's extradition request, Speaker Palpatine covertly arranged for Mina Thiels to be smuggled out of Coruscant, subsequently declaring her an escapee. Forced to leave Coruscant, Mina Thiels became an unrecognized fugitive of the Galactic Republic, her heart heavy with grievance and a desire to weep. "Is this your response, Your Excellency Tang Xiao?" Count Dooku inquired lightly. Tang Xiao savored a piece of meat drenched in exquisite sauce, relishing the taste before replying with a contented sigh. Indeed, the cuisine at Count Dooku's residence is unparalleled. Sereno may lack industrial development, but its culinary wealth is undeniable. With the resources at Dawn Planet's disposal, you could easily indulge in even finer cuisine, Count Dooku remarked. My personal wealth is modest, not exceeding 5 million credits. Tang Xiao responded with a smile. That's because your desires extend far beyond mere wealth, Count Dooku observed seriously. The current state of Dak Planet aligns perfectly with my aspirations. Lord Dead Angel, I am content with this arrangement, Tang Xiao said, wiping his mouth with a towel before steering the conversation back on course. Through official channels, the national industry of Dawn Planet has engaged with Dak Planet, We've constructed 500 superpressure hulls in Dak Planet's deep-sea factories. These serve as the support structure for the bow section of the Cole-class battlecruisers. A strategic move. Even though we've withdrawn from Dak Planet, they continue to serve our interests, Count Dooku acknowledged with a nod of approval. Indeed, Dak Planet claims this project is for civilian use, which is technically true. Without the armor plating, these superpressure hulls could indeed be utilized for civilian spacecraft, albeit their design closely resembles that of the Cole-class battlecruisers, Tang Xiao explained. Count Dooku gazed intently at Tang Xiao, his curiosity piqued. What intrigues me is your relationship with the deceased angel. You two appear to have been quite close, though perhaps that's merely my intuition. Tang Xiao clarified, as I've mentioned before, Hago Damask II founded the Fourth Group, and I was elected as the leader of the Fourth Group Colonial Group at that time. Later, due to developmental needs, the Fourth Group and Dawn Planet underwent a division. Upon opening my eyes, I found myself in the role of a planetary governor. It's important to note the dual identity of Hago Damask II. My acquaintance with the dead angel spans a long time, though our meetings have been few. Each encounter with you, my instincts scream that I'm in the presence of danger, Count Dooku remarked, his eyes narrowing with suspicion. Offering my wrist, I responded, Do you wish to test my blood again? Be my guest. Count Dooku chuckled, shaking his head dismissively. Could it be that the Lord of the Sith possesses a secret technique so powerful it can conceal his own essence from detection? I'm not versed in the ways of the Force. You'd have to inquire with the dead angel himself, or perhaps Darth Sidious, I replied with a smile. Sidious has grown cautious of me. Count Dooku shifted the conversation, leaning back in his chair. It's to be expected. The war has escalated to a point where it's almost time to draw things to a close. The Dawn Planet, following the capture of the Eliadu Galaxy, will shift to a defensive stance. Our goal is simply to survive, I explained. And you're waiting for the spark the dead angel mentioned? Count Dooku's voice took on a colder tone. I'm unsure of his plans, but as for me, my path is clear. Survival, I stated firmly. Can you truly survive? Count Dooku mused, sipping his wine. With Master Yoda's fleet approaching the Kuna star cluster and your forces concentrated in the Eliadu Galaxy, how do you plan to withstand the Republic's onslaught? The strategic importance of the Eliadu Galaxy is undeniable. Without control over it and the Dawn Planet's war zone, we lose vital strategic space, I countered. Yet, if the Kuna cluster falls, the Dawn Planet will be directly in the Republic's crosshairs. And if memory serves, the Ailu people in that region have always been troublesome. Count Dooku pondered aloud. His gaze fixed on me, curious to see how I, a planetary governor with ties to the enigmatic dead angel, would navigate such perilous waters. It's often in moments of crisis that true intentions and hidden strengths are revealed. Despite our tentative alliance, trust was a luxury none of us, Count Dooku, the dead angel, or myself could afford. The Sith trust no one, and though Count Dooku was not officially a Sith Lord, he was deeply entwined with their teachings. The dead angel had promised to indoctrinate him into the Sith ways, but such knowledge remained elusive. Revealing Count Dooku's allegiance in the Book of Sith would immediately alert Darth Sidious through the Dark Heritage, exposing Count Dooku's betrayal. In light of this, my hope rests on the preparations I've made and the officials I've appointed. If we're forced to rely on extraordinary measures at every crisis, it only shows a lack of preparation, I remarked, accepting the unfolding events. Will the dead angel assist you? Count Dooku inquired. I've done all I can. The rest is up to him, I replied, my tone resigned. Darth Marthael, reflecting on the situation, realized his detachment from the conflicts of the Kuna cluster and the Eliadu Galaxy. It's a shame, Master Yoda. I had hoped for a confrontation, but perhaps it's best to reserve my strength for Darth Sidious, he mused, rising from the altar on the island of Abola, planet Murinster. Meanwhile, I was engaged in a seemingly casual drink with Count Dooku, a meeting that belied the complex web of alliances and strategies at play in the galaxy. Seleno had just concluded the most pivotal conversation of the banquet. With that behind him, there was no longer a need to exert his energy in remotely controlling Tang Xiao's clone through the rudimentary Primarch link facilitated by the essence transfer technique. This marked a new milestone in his mastery over the technique of immortality. Rather than transferring his consciousness, as he had done previously, he discovered he could partition a fragment of his consciousness to command a clone from afar. Leveraging the Force, he found it possible to bridge the vast expanse of tens of thousands of light years, synchronizing control over this distant clone. For someone juggling dual identities, this capability proved immensely beneficial. It had already been demonstrated that Count Dooku, despite being a master swordsman, lacked the acuity to see through the facade of the Primarch clone. Dooku's expertise did not extend to the Force, and the arcane secrets pursued by Sith Lords were beyond the grasp of someone with only a superficial understanding like his. Darth Marthael made no overt movements. He simply watched as the black cloak he had placed aside earlier soared through the air to drape over his shoulders. Exiting the clandestine lair, he boarded at his shuttle parked on the tarmac and took to the skies, vanishing without a trace in moments. The shuttle soon emerged from hyperspace into a desolate galaxy where a unique golden spaceship awaited, a vessel belonging to the Protoss. Darth Marthael piloted his shuttle into the bay of the Protoss spaceship, which had opened to receive him. Upon disembarking, he was greeted by a tall, slender Protoss clad in traditional Chinese attire. This was Zarakus, the esteemed leader of the Sherak tribe. Standing behind him was Talim, the guardian of the Sherak tribe's temple. Note, this chapter includes an Easter egg regarding the Protoss shuttle, reminiscent of the transport planes from the first generation of video games. Please remember to visit our website for the fastest updates on this novel.